We are live on a happy hour Friday. The Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. What's up, everybody? Good to be out and about. We are live at the Tropicana Showroom tonight as we get you ready for all the live boxing that is happening in Atlantic City tonight. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is my on-site producer, and Pete G is back in the studios producing today's show. You out there on a Friday, we've got all the Phillies and Yankees tonight. Big matchup out at Yankee Stadium tonight. We'll get you the lineups and all the conversation. The Yankees just made a trade a couple moments ago, by the way. They have added third baseman Ryan McMahon, so he should be in the lineup this weekend, I would imagine. Not the best pitching matchup tonight. It is a matchup between Taijuan Walker and Will Warren. So no Phils last night to react to, but I definitely want to get back into the conversation that we were having yesterday. We were kind of interweaving the Phillies and the Eagles, and we'll do some Eagles today as well as football at 4. And Sal Paolantonio is back for a Sal Pal Friday. He joins me at 3 o'clock today. It's a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat at 3:30, 3:25 today for Bob Wankel. Mike McGarry at the bottom of this hour. Here we got the text board open at 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. If you want to chime in and get involved on the text board, you can always do so and be a part of the show. You know, I was having breakfast this morning, and was having breakfast with my dad and my dad's partner, and his work partner. And he basically
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, well, sorry. Well, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No judgment.
Anyway, his law partner, we were having breakfast this morning, and he had said to me, I was listening to you yesterday talk about the whole Phillies situation in that fifth inning that we kind of went through a lot yesterday. And, you know, he was saying, I agree with what you were saying. And there's people who have told me I don't agree with what you were saying, obviously. So I told you the nature of what happened in that fifth inning the other night. But it all comes back to, right, the Phillies, the bullpen, and the managing of the bullpen, and who is responsible for all that. So one of the things that we were talking about is in that fifth inning 2 nights ago when Rob Thompson, obviously, I think Rob Thompson in that moment as the manager should act a little bit more, because you could predetermine all you want before the game. But an inning like that, you know, that is where I think Caleb Cotham has a lot to do with the Phillies pitching decisions before the game. You know, before the game when they all meet together, everybody, front office, manager, Cotham is involved in those pitching decisions. Hey,
right.
We want to have Suarez on an 85 pitch count tonight. That's my plan with our pitching staff. But in that moment, in that fifth inning, they kind of got away from everybody. That is where, you know, and these are rarities. Look, that inning was a rarity. You know, it just got away from the team. And I think that is where in a postseason game, would that game be managed differently? Like in that postseason as opposed to a regular season. John Middleton said it the other day. The fact of the matter is this. A regular season bullpen is a different animal than a postseason bullpen, right? We all agree on that. So what I would ask is, the question would be, would they manage that inning differently if it was the postseason? And I think ultimately the answer would be, yes, they would. Here is what John Middleton said when asked about the bullpen.
One of the things people have to realize is a bullpen in the regular season is an entirely different animal than a bullpen in the postseason. If you go back to, I was talking to Dave about this about a month ago, and he said, John, and I think it was 06 when the Tigers, which he was running, played the Cardinals. He said, the Cardinals bullpen was very mundane, very average. He said, we weren't concerned about it at all. And then they put Adam Wainwright in the bullpen. And overnight, it turned into a really, really good bullpen.
Now, that doesn't pertain to what happened last night or 2 nights ago, but what it does pertain to is you manage the bullpen differently in the regular season than you do the bullpen. In other words, I think if Jesus Luzardo is struggling in that moment, here's the thing. it's tough to determine when he started struggling. He obviously walked. He started struggling.
He walked the first batter of the inning.
No, he gave up a double to the first
double,
batter.
but then he gave up a walk.
So it's
right.
first and second with nobody out. Then he settles in and he strikes out the next batter, and then he gets a pop-up to shortstop.
Right.
So now it's first and second with 2 outs. It's an innocent inning, up 5-0. You're like, okay, this guy's been cruising along. He gave up a double. That happens. He walked a batter. That happens. Then he strikes a guy out. Then he gives up a pop-up. All of that is very normal. These are things that you're not like, what's going on here? Why is nobody doing anything? Why isn't anybody up in the bullpen? Pitch count wasn't outrageous. It's not like he had 100 pitches in the 5th inning and was starting to labor. All of a sudden, that inning starts to unravel. It's the walk that happens that loads the bases up. And that is where, and look, that is where Caleb Cotham, as the pitching coach, who's really in charge of the pitching staff, I think says, hey, Rob, I'm going to go talk to him. Right? I'm going to go talk to him. Now, at that time, Rob can also suggest, do we want to get somebody up here? Do we want to try to get somebody up in the event that something happens here? And I think that's where they maybe had a miscommunication.
And that's what I was telling to you, Mike, yesterday, was that, like, to me, it's like the moment the second walk happened, Kaufman's got to get off of his butt and walk out there and just be like, hey, buddy, how you doing? Like, just check on the guy. I'm not asking you to go and pull him out of the game immediately.
No, I think that not pulling him out of the game, but definitely going out and checking on him and saying, hey, listen, bear down here. You got 2 outs. The bases are loaded. Come on. We have a 5-run lead. Don't let them get back in this game. And then he ends up walking the next hitter. So the question goes back to, is the game managed differently in the regular season than in the playoffs?
But
because would they have said at that moment, listen, we've got to get somebody up in the bullpen. The bases are loaded. There are 2 outs. We're up 5-0. I don't think there's any scenario where they thought, hey, they're going to score 6 runs in this inning.
No, but there is a scenario where maybe if Kaufman goes out there after the second walk, maybe – what's up? Cotham, yeah. If Cotham goes out there after the second walk, if JT catches that pop-up, that everyone is still confused how he didn't catch it. Like, if he would have done X, Y, Z, maybe there isn't a big inning. And that's the whole reason why I think people are frustrated, Mike, is because there is a perception. Remember the people who text in, Rob Zombie, right? It's the idea that you want them to do something in a situation. Now, maybe he's not pull the guy out of the game, but don't you want him to at least go out there and check on the guy? Maybe you check on him. Maybe you settle him down. Remember, there's a pitch clock now, right? You can't step off the mound and tie your cleats again or something. Maybe that would have been the moment to say, hey, Jesus, let's take a breather. We got 30 seconds, extra seconds. Let's work this out. And maybe he gets out of the inning.
I definitely think that that's the thing, is that Cotham should have gone to the mound. And whether that's Cotham who's in charge of making that decision or Rob Thompson, blame whoever you want. I don't really care. You want to blame Rob Thompson? Fine. Rob Thompson's got to say to Caleb Cotham, listen, you need to go out there and settle him down. It's bases loaded, 2 outs. We need this out right here. He needs to get out there and finish his inning. And at the same time, should we get somebody up here? It's your pitching staff. What do you think? Should we get somebody go? Now, someone say, no, he's the manager. Fine, he's the manager. Tell Caleb Cotham, the pitching coach, get somebody warmed up here. That's the thing. I don't think it's egregious that they didn't have somebody warmed up at that moment. Now, what point would you say, and this is what I talked about yesterday, that inning, as I was thinking about it this morning, that inning just starts to get it just starts quickly. It starts to get away from you. You're like, because Jordan Romano was the guy who ended up coming in.
Correct.
How long does it take Romano to get loosened up to where he is now ready to go into the game in the 5th inning? Remember, this is a guy who's a closer. He usually knows, I'm going in the 9th inning. I know when I need to start warming up to close a game out.
Right.
Now he's shifting into a new role. When does he feel like, hey, I need X amount of time before I'm ready to go into a game? And if you're telling me to go in the game in the 5th inning with 2 outs, I'm going to need longer to warm up than you calling me on the phone and saying, hey, start loosening up. When is he going to be ready to come out there and help the team out? I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know Jordan Romano well enough in a 5th inning role. So that's why I think the one mishap that I think the team made, whether it be Thompson, Cotham, would
whoever.
be I think they should have gone out to the mound and talked to Luzardo and kind of slowed everything down, try to settle him down. And at the same time, you just say to somebody, hey, get yourself loose. Just start to get yourself loose because there's a good chance you're going to go in the 6th inning anyway.
So that brings me to your previous question, Mike, which is how is a postseason game managed differently? Do they have a faster hook on Luzardo in the situation?
That's a good question because, again, the first 4 innings, he had been kind of cruising along.
Correct.
So you're not at that point saying, now, unless, okay, this is where it might be different, unless you are now so reliant on the analytics that you're saying the pre-plan before the game, and this is why you hear so much about, look, it was planned before the game. If the pre-plan before the game was, hey, Luzardo against this team, we want him out after the 4th inning. We do not want to see him face this team for the 3rd time around the lineup. So you might have gotten that in a playoff situation of, hey, all the analytics are telling us he can't face this team's lineup for the 3rd time around. So at that point now, who knows where you are and how many pitches and all that jazz. But I think it's now over-analyzed of how many pitches he's thrown, how many times he's faced this team. And then, as we have played many times on the show from Dave Sampson, the analytics will tell you how many pitches we want the guy to throw, who's going to be next in the bullpen, who the next guy is, when they want that guy in the game. All of this stuff is decided before the game has begun. In other words, hey, Luzardo, you're throwing 4 innings. If you take Luzardo out in the 4th, this is who we want in the 5th. If Luzardo comes out in the 5th, this is who we want in the 6th inning. This is David Sampson, the former president of the Florida Marlins, who broke it all down for us on the Sports Bash.
We will have discussed pregame. Here's what we're doing. We don't want that pitcher. Say it's Zach Wheeler. We don't want him going 5 innings if he throws 45 or more pitches in any inning early in the game. So literally to that level of detail, we're going to talk it through.
That level of detail. So in other words, he has 110 pitches today, except for if he throws 45 pitches in any inning, that means he don't have it today. We probably are going to get him out of the game. So that's where I think in the playoff that stuff is even magnified even more. And that's why I think that inning is not the biggest of deals.
No, again, I told you this yesterday, Mike, and we can check on the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. I go back to, that in the last 11 games, this guy is averaging 4 2/3 innings a game. In the last 11 starts now, he has an 8 ERA. In his first 10 starts, he had a 2.15 ERA. So obviously, this guy's having a problem getting to the lineup the 3rd time. So shouldn't the analytics tell you, hey, we got to the lineup twice.
Yeah.
Let's get an eye on him. Maybe, just maybe, Mike, we might want to keep a closer grip on him as he gets into the 5th inning.
And that's why I think in the playoff game, that would probably have played out.
Right.
Right? I think that would have been analyzed a little closer. And this is where the fans get mad.
Right.
Because in the playoff game, he's cruised through 4 innings, and if they would have taken him out of the game, what would the fans said? Why are you taking this guy out of the game? Because all the data said he shouldn't pitch the 5th inning.
Right. There's literal intrinsic data that shows that. Luzardo can say all he wants. Oh, I'm tipping pitches, the stretch. It didn't matter because guess what? He was in the stretch when he got those 2 outs. Remember? When he got the pop-up, when he got the strikeout. He was in the stretch. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me it's just the stretch.
A couple text messages, 609-403-0973. Anthony from Avalon says the game would have not totally gone away from if our catcher would have caught the ball. It's not like he's unfamiliar with the ballpark and the lights. Yeah, I mean, that is the thing. That play ends the discussion.
Right.
If he catches the ball, and this is JT Realmuto you're talking about, he's right. The ballpark, the lights, the sky, everything in Philadelphia. I mean, he's been there for how many years now?
6 years, I believe.
That you should not be, that should not have come into play in that spot. Willie, let's see. Willie's talking about something a little different. Let's see. Never blame the manager, but that one is on Topper. Rockies are so terrible. They got a couple of top tier 3 prospects for their franchise third baseman. What an anomaly that 2020 season was when they won 90-something games. Never blame the manager, but that one is on. Okay, so he's saying I never blame the manager, but that situation
in that
is
situation,
on Topper.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, at that point, I think the analytics are kind of out the window because of the way the inning unfolded.
Right.
That is where I say, look, much of the stuff, this is what I talk about with the manager. Much of the stuff is predetermined and pre-mapped out, that the manager is there to execute the plan that comes from the front office.
Right.
But in this moment, that plan got blown up. And that is where you're saying, hey, now I have to, it's like an airplane. It's on autopilot until those few moments where the pilot now has to take back over. That is where Thompson has to be able to not be, I say he's insignificant. This is where you can't become a significant part of the game and the outcome, right? When the autopilot gets turned off, you can't affect the outcome of the game. Did that affect the outcome of the game? Well, they scored 6 runs in the inning. I have no problem in this situation saying, now, here's a text message from Robbie in Little Egg Harbor. The manager should have walked out to talk to the pitcher or the pitching coach. When you're up by 5 runs, you cannot blow that big of a lead. You have to win them games. Robbie in Little Egg Harbor. I agree. And that's why, if you're asking me, if you want to say Topper, that is a game where he did have an effect on the game.
Correct.
And or Cotham. They're, to me, hand in hand. They share the blame in this. They share the blame. The pitching coach is the manager of the pitching staff. This is like saying you're blaming Nick Sirianni for Vic Fangio's blunder.
Correct.
Right? It's akin. Sirianni gets some blame for it. He's the head coach. He can overrule the defensive coordinator if he wants to. In this situation, Cotham runs the pitching staff. But Thompson can overrule him and say, listen, I know what you're telling me. I want you to go talk to him. I need you to go talk to him, whether you think it's necessary or not. Go ask him what he's having for dinner.
Well, because Thompson also knows the same numbers that the pitching coach does, right?
No doubt. They all sat
the same meeting, and they know, hey, this guy is averaging 4 2/3 innings in the last 11 starts. Everybody knows the same number. If I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. So at some point, Rob might want to turn around and do, hey, Caleb, you remember with a stat that we talked about before the game that said this guy can only go so many innings?
Well, and I think, the big picture that I take away, and a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this particular show is the big picture, because that's what it is for the Phillies. The Phillies, this is a big picture season. I don't care what happens night to night. You lose a game, you win a game, you win 5 in a row, you lose 5 in a row. The end result is you're going to be in the playoffs. So what's the big picture when you're in? Well, I don't want to say you're definitively going to be in the playoffs, but you feel pretty good that they're going to be in the playoffs. But that's we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is going to join us and get his. I want to get his thoughts on that, because the Phillies are playing the Yankees tonight. They are a half game behind the Mets in the National League East. You're looking at right now the National League wild card situation, and if you haven't been paying attention, you're just kind of paying attention to the East. All of a sudden, the National League wild card does have a different feel about it. The Milwaukee Brewers, all of a sudden, are a player in this whole thing. The Chicago Cubs are a player in this whole thing. Of course, the Dodgers are a player in this thing. The Mets are a player in this thing. The National League, the wild card race, is shaping up that the team that finishes in second place in the National League East, it's not a fait accompli that they're getting into the playoffs like you felt like it could be earlier on in the season. Right now, the Brewers have taken over first place from the Cubs.
Right.
Everybody just assuming the Cubs were going to win that division. The Brewers have won 9 out of 10. And they are in first place in the Central Division. So all of a sudden, and by the way, not only are they in first place in the Central Division, they have the most wins. They are tied for the most wins in all of baseball. Yes, the Milwaukee Brewers are tied. So my point is this. Right now, if the playoffs were to start today, the wild card teams would be the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Padres. The Giants are only 1 back. The Reds are now only 2 back. The Cardinals are 2.5 back. Arizona started to make some trades. It feels like they've decided we are waving the white flag on this season. The Marlins are only 6 out. The Braves are 10 back. The Marlins are 4 games better than the Braves are right now. Then the Pirates, Nationals, and Rockies. That's the bottom half of the National League. Yankees are hosting the Phils tonight. They are 10 games above 500. They are the top team in the American League wild card race. Mariners and Red Sox. Why is that important? Mariners are a team that a lot of people think the Phillies match up well with in trades. Well, the Mariners right now don't seem to be interested in.
They're buyers.
They just made a trade yesterday
Josh Naylor.
add to their team getting Josh Naylor. And Boston, we kept hearing all about them and them. They've won, they had that winning streak and got themselves, they're the 3rd team into the playoff race. So if you're making a call to Boston right now, I don't know that they're answering.
Probably
I don't
not.
know that they're all that interested in helping you out.
No.
609-403-0973. So if you're watching on the YouTube today or on the X platform, you will see that I am out on location. We are inside the Tropicana showroom. Josh, tell us a little bit. This is your neck of the woods here. This is your genre here. The boxing tonight. We just saw promoter Larry Goldberg, who's putting on all the boxing tonight right here in Atlantic City at the Tropicana showroom for Boxing Insider Promotions.
Yeah, obviously, it's one of those deals where when you have not just local fighters, but big fights on the card today, Boxing Insider Promotions, they had a record turnout last time back in March, Mike, and now they're back with another Friday night action. It's the WBC Silver Junior Flyweight title, Andy Dominguez versus Byron Rojas, but also Abs-Academy High School graduate Bruce Selden Jr., along with Philadelphia rising star boxer Dayon Butt. They are among the local fighters in action. 10 p.m. is when the fights start. Tickets are still on sale and available at Ticketmaster.com and the Tropicana box office.
All right, Sports Bash is live today at the Tropicana showroom. So for those of you who are wondering where you can come see us, when you come in through the quarter, on your way to like Chickies and Pete's, where we broadcast live during the fall, instead of turning all the way towards Chickies and Pete's, there's an escalator, a pair of escalators. Right at the top of the escalators, that's where the Sports Bash is broadcasting live from today. Coming up at 3 o'clock, Sal Paolantonio joins us for a Sal Pal Friday, plus a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat at 3:25. But when we come back, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joins us right here on the Sports Bash with a Phillies weekend preview. That's next. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 228. Sports Bash is live at the Tropicana showroom for tonight's Boxing Card Insider Promotions. Returns for another action-packed fight night here at the Tropicana Atlantic City showroom. If you're looking for something to do on a Friday night fight night, you can never beat the energy of a fight night crowd. They had a record turnout the last time they were in Atlantic City, and we are here at the Tropicana showroom tonight, which should be an action-packed night with a lot of locals on the card. Come out 7 o'clock. The action starts. Tickets are still available at Ticketmaster.com or right here at the box office at the Trop. I'm Mike Gill. Joining me now to talk a little bit about the weekend that is coming up. Big weekend up at Yankee Stadium, and we are less than a week. As he joins me on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Mike McGarry, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Mike, how are you today?
Always good. A Friday edition, a lot happening the weekend. Let's first talk Phillies, Yankees. An important matchup for both teams, really. I mean, the Yankees are the top of the wild card, 4.5 out in the East, but the Phillies find themselves a half a game behind the Mets. This wild card, all of a sudden, in the National League, it's getting crazy. The Brewers have put themselves in first place. This thing is going to be, it almost feels like it could go down to the wire where a National League East team might have to actually win the division.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it appears to be right now. I think if you look at the actual standings today, if the playoffs were to start today, I believe the Phillies would be the 5 seed probably and traveling to play the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field in the wild card series. So, the Brewers have been very hot lately. They're up. It's going to be ebbs and flows the rest of the season. And, hey, we have ourselves a kind of old-fashioned sort of pennant race where, as you pointed out, although it looks now like today the second place team in the National League East, in this case the Phillies, would get in the playoffs, but that could change in the next the next 70 games or something. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this summer plays out.
All right, Mike. So let's look at you saw a trade last night and a trade today. Do we think this is a preview of what could end up being, a race to get these deals done and not waiting until the last minute?
Yeah, I mean, both the Mets and Yankees make deals this afternoon, right? And the first thought that hits my head is, the Mets and the Yankees, it's a 100-yard dash to that trading deadline, and the Mets and Yankees are out of the starting blocks, and the Phillies are still doing deep knee bends in the starting blocks, getting ready to run the race. I thought the Mets picked up a former Philly from Baltimore, Gregory Soto, the reliever today. I thought that was a good move by the Mets. Soto has had a solid season, but he's been very, very effective against left-handed batters. And guess who's got a lot of lefties in the lineup, a lot of key lefties in the lineup, and the Mets' chief rival for the division, the Phillies. And then I think the Yankees go out and they get Ryan McMahon at third base from Colorado. So the Yankees and the Phillies were kind of teams rumored to be looking for third baseman. So right now, I think the question for the Phillies is, do they go and get, Suarez from Arizona, who showed their selling by trading Josh Naylor last night. So really an interesting time, how the last 12 to 15 hours has developed on that trade front.
How crazy would that be, Mike, is if Gregory Soto becomes a huge factor in who wins the division late in the season. If you got a Soto matchup against, Schwarber or Harper or Stott or somebody, how crazy is it that could come down to that type of matchup, your guy that you basically gave up on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Citizens Bank Park, I would imagine the crowd would be going nuts in there. You wonder how Soto would handle that, but he did not, pitch well during his time here in Philadelphia, but he has been solid in Baltimore, and his numbers against lefties this year are outstanding. So really just a fascinating time of year and a fascinating time of year to see exactly what the Phillies are going to do here, because the Mets and Yankees have kind of jumped out and shown how aggressive they're going to be. Let's see what the Phillies do now.
No doubt about it. All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. That would be interesting to see that all unfold here. I know this is a silly season. We start to say, all right, names are flying. But according to some reports that the Royals might consider Nick Castellanos if he's available. If you're the Phillies, are you interested in listening on Nick Castellanos. This is a team that lacks right-handed power. He's not supplying a lot of the power, but he's got average power. Can you even consider moving Nick Castellanos, or do you have to at least think about that if somebody's interested?
Well, I think you got to think about all possibilities. And I know what you're saying right now. Teams usually, when contending teams don't usually like to trade from their major league roster at the trade deadline because you are weakening your major league roster. So are you, robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, or whatever that old saying is here? Are you weakening one area to strengthen another? So that's what teams kind of look out for. But when I see that the Phillies are willing to listen on Nick Castellanos, the thought that plays out in my head, Mike, is, okay, Castellanos goes to Kansas City. You get back what you can from Kansas City. And in the meantime, you pick up Suarez. You put him at third base. You shift Bohm when he comes back to first base, and you put Bryce Harper in right field. Is that a better team than the Phillies currently have today? I think it is.
I would agree. I think that's an interesting breakdown that you just gave, Mike, is that it would open right field back up for Bryce Harper, allowed you to use Bohm at first base if you thought you can get a right-handed hitting third baseman. I think if you're the Phillies, you are dying for someone to call and ask if Nick Castellanos is available. The other names, I want to get your thoughts on some of them, see if they move the needle for you. This O'Neill Cruz stuff, I mean, I think that the thought of Cruz as a prospect is much better than having Cruz in your actual lineup.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I just don't see it. Obviously he came up a lot, a couple of years ago to a lot of fanfare. Looks great out there, shifts to center field, makes some eye-opening plays, but the numbers just aren't there. Some questions about the hustle, the work ethic. And I don't see him right now as being a huge upgrade over Brandon Marsh, the way Brandon Marsh has played from May 1st on. So I don't see, Cruz coming here. He doesn't, really push the meter for me, basically.
All right. Stephen Kwan, his team coming back up. John Heyman did report the Phillies do have interest there, and they should have interest there, right? I mean, it's funny, though. All these guys are left-handed. O'Neill Cruz is left-handed. Stephen Kwan is left-handed. It seems that guys, Cruz I don't have a ton of interest in, but Kwan I would have interest in, even though he's left-handed.
Yeah, I like Kwan because he's what they need. He's another consistent hitter. He's a guy who puts the ball in play, works at bats, makes contact, right? I think they don't have a guy like that right now in their lineup. So, yeah, I like Kwan, and I think you can put him in left field and sort of solve your left field issue. And he gives you what the lineup does not have and what it has lacked in the postseason the past couple of years. And then I like Clase, too. If you can work out a deal where you get the closer and the left fielder, again, you're a better baseball team with those guys today. But in that case, Mike, you're probably giving up a lot of prospects to get those guys. And I have no problem with that.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. They're getting ready for the Phillies and Yankees tonight. Of course, the Phils will throw Taijuan Walker. I say, of course, I mean, he is still in the rotation. It is also an Andrew Painter night. He will pitch tonight down in AAA. Is that something that you're going to be keeping an eye on, Painter's outing and how he mixes in? Because now we're getting to the trade deadline, and we could see a situation where things, by the time me and you talk on Friday next week, the team could look different.
Yeah, and in fact, Mike, I think I might be mistaken. It could be an old thing that I looked up. I think Painter might have thrown last night. I'm not sure, and pitched pretty impressively.
No, he did.
So I'm not sure about that. Maybe we
Painter
could check
threw.
that.
You're right. Yeah. He threw last night. Yes.
Right. Okay, and he did pitch impressively, which is a promising step, because Mike, one of the things that we've talked about all along was this Phillies starting rotation being, the strength of the team. Well, all of a sudden, you kind of look at where some of the pitchers have gone as far as Luzardo's performance and Ranger Suarez's performance. And, Taijuan Walker isn't putting the fear of God in anybody when he steps to the mound. So kind of interesting that the rotation that we had kind of, locked down and said, oh my God, they've got too many starters, and which one are you going to send to the bullpen? Doesn't look as formidable as it did, a couple of weeks ago. Although I will say this, I don't think there's a better 1-2 punch in all of baseball than Wheeler and Sanchez.
All right, he threw last night. He had the 1-2-3 fifth inning, had the strikeout there, 4 strikeouts in the game for Andrew Painter. And watching him pitch last night, you're wondering if that changed the dynamics for them to feel any better. We'll see. Obviously, he factors into the trade deadline. Man, there's a whole bunch there. I want to go back because they did not play last night, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it on Wednesday because that game Wednesday night. I want to go back to that 5th inning, Mike, and hear what your expository is on that whole how it just kind of unraveled and got out of hand. Do you point fingers at anyone? What is your takeaway looking back at that 5th inning, up 5-0, and then down 6-5 at the end of the 5th?
Yeah, I don't point fingers at anybody for a regular season game like that, Mike. I know a lot of people were like, what was Rob Thompson doing? Was he sleeping in the dugout? Why didn't he get somebody up quicker? For a regular season game, I'm not going to fault Rob Thompson for that. If it's a postseason game with the way Luzardo has pitched, I would say, yeah, he should have got him out sooner. But one factor that has changed in baseball, Mike, and I like it, and I think we all like it, is with the pitch clock, innings can get out of hand in a hurry. With a guy on base, you've got to throw a pitch every 15 seconds. There's no more walking around the back of the mound, tying your shoe, giving the manager time to think about things, giving a guy in the bullpen time to get up and stuff like that. You've got to throw a pitch every 15 seconds, and boom, things can get out of hand in a hurry. And that inning got out of hand in a hurry. And it is concerning that Luzardo, you talk about putting him in the bullpen. Well, he really has struggled to pitch with guys on base the past couple of starts. So, if he were to go to the bullpen, he couldn't come into a dirty inning. He would be a guy who would start an inning. But to me, you've got a big concern right now about how he pitches with guys on base. Either he, is losing his command, can't pitch out of the stretch, is worried about people, stealing pitches from him. But whatever the situation is, it's a problem right now for the Phillies that when a guy gets on first base, Luzardo tends to unravel. And I got news for you. In the playoffs, somebody's going to get on first base.
Well, and we're talking about, Mike, whether he could be a candidate to be that guy who maybe pitches at high leverage situations in the, an 8th inning and Juan Soto's at the plate. How about a Soto-Luzardo matchup? That sounds great. But if Soto actually gets on base, now the whole thing unravels potentially before you.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw Luzardo and Soto face off against each other earlier in the season, and Luzardo struck Soto out. But let's say Soto gets a walk. You're exactly right. Now you got Pete Alonso walking to the plate with a guy who can't pitch out of the stretch on the mound and a guy who's got to face 3 batters, no matter what happens.
No matter what, right.
You got to throw 3 batters. So it's really, they've got, 70 games to figure out. But, hey, I'm concerned about Luzardo, and I said on Wednesday, and I'll say it again, to me, it's a big weekend up in the Bronx. To me, the biggest game is Sunday. I want to see what Ranger Suarez looks like on Sunday against the New York Yankees. Does he look like the Ranger that was one of the best lefties in baseball, or does he look like the Ranger of his last start who looked like he was headed for another second-half collapse like he did last year?
Yeah, and by the way, you're right about the inning. It was a weird dynamic where the first 4 innings, he's cruising along. He gives up a double. That's normal. He walks the guy. Okay, first and second with nobody out. Next thing you know, it's first and second with 2 outs. I mean, so it's not like, okay, this thing's unraveling. It's first and second with 2 outs. After he'd been cruising along, he then walks the bases loaded. It's probably at that point you might say, hey, you got to go out to the mound and maybe slow some things down. But I don't know where you're getting a guy up and thinking that guy's going to be ready to go within, how long does it take Jordan Romano to get warmed up and ready to go into a game? That we don't really know. He's not used to pitching in the 5th inning. So, it's not like, hey, go out there, he'll be warmed up and he's going to be ready to go 45 seconds from now. So the next walk comes in, and that's where you're starting to say, okay, now what? Then another walk. I mean, then there's a grand slam. I mean, the thing, I think you're right. The thing just kind of unraveled that quickly. And, I don't think that would happen in a playoff situation.
No, and remember somewhere in there was the pop-up that JT couldn't pick out of the summer sky, basically. And the sky is obviously different in October. You're playing at night or during the day. That ball's probably caught. Although I will say this, Mike, some of the not, I don't call it excuse making, but people saying if only, they had called strike 3 on Mike Trout in the Ranger Suarez start, his start would have been better. If only, JT had caught the pop-up or Luzardo himself had caught the pop-up, then that inning wouldn't have been in bed. There's no law that says if you get a bad call from the umpire or your teammate doesn't catch a pop-up, you have to give up a bases-clearing double or a grand slam to the next batter, basically. You can pitch your way out of it. So, those excuses kind of rankle me a little bit when I hear them.
All right, there's Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Should be fun up at you going to any games at Yankee Stadium this weekend?
No, I am actually taking the weekend off to enjoy our fine Jersey Shore here. I have found Yankee Stadium to be a logistical nightmare to kind of travel to. But last time I was there, I spent 45 minutes on a Bronx side street and moved about 5 feet in 45 minutes. I have not yet recovered from that experience, so I will be navigating the remote control to find Apple TV Plus to watch tonight's game, basically.
There you go. And by the way, Heidi Watney will join us tonight from Apple TV Plus at 5:30 to preview the series. Mike McGarry, everybody, from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofatlanticcity.com, as we take a look at the weekend for the Phils and the Yankees. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
All right, there's Mike. And, of course, he'll be back Monday to look back at the weekend series against the Yankees right here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. So there you heard him. He didn't have a lot of fault in the way the Phillies managed that inning either. But I think we both agree that they'll manage that inning differently in a playoff situation. I'm Mike Hill. This is the Sports Bash Live here at the Tropicana Atlantic City showroom for the Boxing Insider Promotions return to the Tropicana tonight. Tickets are still available at Ticketmaster.com and at the Tropicana box office. Sal Paolantonio in 15 minutes with his takeaways from the first week of Eagles training camp. That's coming up right here on the Sports Bash. All right, Sports Bash Live, 10 to the top of the hour, 97.3 ESPN. So yesterday we talked a little bit about it in the 3 o'clock hour. Hulk Hogan passed away at 71 years old.
Yeah.
It was it just all of a sudden started going everywhere. Now you're starting to see all the tributes all over the place. And I had told you yesterday on the show that Pete G has the Hulk Hogan mug that he got at Hogan's Hangout in Clearwater Beach. Pete G, did you find the mug? Have you retained the Hulkster mug? Did you have, I was going to say, did you fill it up with a nice real American beer and chug that thing down? Filled it up with a little water? All right.
Did you take your vitamins with that water?
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Now, you said tonight they're doing some tributes for Friday Night SmackDown. Wow. Jimmy Hart tonight? So, just to give the people some insight. So, Pete is part of the group that goes to Clearwater, the Philly spring training with us. And Hogan has a place down there called Hogan's Hangout. He also has a memorabilia store. Do you know the name of that store? Yeah, Hogan's Beach Shop, I think it's called. So we've been in the Hogan's Beach Shop many times, right? It's just like a, yeah, if you ever been to Clearwater Beach, it's got the Hogan statue out front, and then you go inside, and it's got all of his, like, belts and, like, you know, memorabilia, different like trunks that he's worn, boots, stuff like that. But like, you can go in there and buy T-shirts and stuff. But he's been known to show up in the place like every once in a while. I've never seen him in the store down there, but he's done autograph signings down there, and the line would be like down the street.
Well, that's where that famous, I don't know if you guys saw the famous video of the kid who showed up in the shop doing the Hulk impersonation to the Hulkster last year. It was in that shop you're talking about.
It is. So that shop is in the middle of Mandalay. On the corner is his Hogan's Hangout spot. That's the name of the bar. He hosts karaoke there every Monday. And our former co-host here, Todd Rank, he got called up to sing karaoke.
Really?
And the Hulkster sits on the stage and watches you sing karaoke.
Wow.
I have a picture that I posted on our website, 973ESPN.com, where you can see Todd belting out a song and the Hulkster sitting there watching him.
By the way, speaking of New Jersey, people might not remember this, but the first time the reunion of Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage working together was in Atlantic City at WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 5, because in WrestleMania 4, he fought Andre the Giant. That was a disqualification in the match that was it was like the tournament that they did. They were over at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. But, part of everybody's childhood just kind of was pulled from them yesterday suddenly. It was kind of a sudden thing. The Hulk Hogan passed away yesterday, as we talked about on the show yesterday. But I wanted to bring it up because PG has the Hulk Hogan. It's a big mug, and the handle is the python. The arm is the him making the 24-inch pythons. There you go. All right, next hour, Sal Paolantonio will join us for a Sal Pal Friday, the first Sal Pal Friday of the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles football season. His observations on the Birds next. 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Training camps are underway, and we have you covered. ESPN is ramping up its NFL preseason coverage with NFL Live and Sports Center. They'll have reporters all over the NFL globe, and one of them will be right here in Philadelphia. Sal Paolantonio. It's the only name synonymous with the Eagles when it comes to covering the Birds. It's right here on a Sal Pal Friday. He joins us throughout the football season for a Sal Pal Friday, and it begins right now with a Sal Pal Friday. You can check him out tomorrow morning on ESPN ABC television as all of the Eagles coverage begins right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Welcome back, Sal Pal, for a Sal Pal Friday here on the Sports Bash. We wouldn't have it any other way.
Michael, thank you so much for that introduction. It's so great to be with you. It's obviously great to have another season on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. This is my home away from home, brother, and I always appreciate you welcoming back like this. Yeah, back together weekend with the NFL on ESPN and ABC. And, of course, you got to kick it off in South Philadelphia, Mike, with the Super Bowl champs.
Got to. Biggest stories of this team. We're going to take a look at them now because we heard from Nick Sirianni. We heard from Howie Roseman. We heard from Vic Fangio the first couple days, but there were a lot of stories already emerging on those first couple practices, Sal. And I guess the one of them that we got to start with is the role of Cooper DeJean. We know that last year he was a big factor when he got inserted into that defense as that nickel slot guy. But now getting some reps at safety, how do we envision that Cooper's role might change this season in 2025, which, by the way, the team is saying it's a new season. 2024, it's behind us, and now we already see the first makings of a new season with Cooper DeJean's role potentially changing.
Yeah, Michael, don't say the word repeat. It's reset. It's not repeat. It's like one of those 7 words you can't say on television. Remember with George Carlin way right back in the day, yeah. So, you hit on it, Michael, of course, because to me, the number one issue for this football team is the strong safety position. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is gone. They traded him to Houston, because I've said it on this program several times that I did not agree with that trade. Yeah, he's a big yapper, but he produces. He had 6 picks, which led the team last year, number 1 on the Philadelphia Eagles with 6 interceptions. When he was here in 2022, they were 3 points away from winning Super Bowl 57. He leaves in 2023, and they lead the league in giving up explosive plays in the passing game. He comes back in 2024, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson leads the team in picks. He's got that great communication skills on the back end. He's a ball hawk. And the Eagles are number 1 in giving up explosive plays, the fewest explosive plays in the National Football League, and they go on to win Super Bowl 59, steamrolling the Kansas City Chiefs. So what they're going to do at that strong safety position, and I say strong safety because Reed Blankenship is listed on the depth chart as the free safety, but, he will come down to the line of scrimmage a lot, so it's sort of interchangeable. Right now they have Sidney Brown, the 3rd-round pick from 2023. He's been passed over for a starting role by several defensive coordinators for this football team. He's got great speed. He loves to hit. Then there's Tristan McCullum, who I know is a big favorite. When C.J. Gardner-Johnson did not play last year, Tristan McCullum played in his place. I know Howie Roseman's very high on him. The coaching staff loves him. I love him because he's 6'3", Mike, and he can run. And the guy who can also run is Sean Lewis from Georgia. He's got 4.37 speed. Andrew Makubu, the rookie that they got out of Texas. It's so tough, Michael, as you know, to play as a rookie in that Vic Fangio defense at the safety position. You're the quarterback. You're the quarterback of the defense. So it's tough. That's why I think they are looking at Cooper DeJean at the safety position. I don't agree with it. I don't like it because you're really robbing Peter to pay Paul. This guy is such a great slot corner. He could have been the MVP of the Super Bowl very easily, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that interception really changed the dynamics. It basically put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So you got the best, in my view, based on our study at the NFL matchup show at NFL Films, he's the best slot corner in the NFL. He's the Swiss Army knife of this defense. He can cover. He can drop into coverage. He can blitz off the corner. He can take away your third option in the passing game. He's got speed. He's got toughness. I don't like moving him to safety because I think it's an immediate downgrade to an important part of their defense when they're in their nickel defense.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. But they may have really no choice. I mean, if you take Cooper DeJean out of the nickel corner, who's going to play nickel corner on the football team?
Well, I mean, obviously they drafted Mac McWilliams. We'll see that. But, I mean, to my understanding, potentially, we'll see if this evolves, but they're looking at him to play safety mainly in the base packages, which is only about 10 to 15 snaps per game, right? This is just a way to get him on the field more, unless they say, hey, look, we like you at safety because we have a guy that we like playing corner. That has not emerged yet, I would imagine.
No, it's not emerged. It has not emerged. So, the secondary is an issue. You're missing two veterans in Darius Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, two starters. Your secondary was lights out good,
yes,
especially down the stretch. So this is the thing that this is the area of the football team that I will be focused on in the coming days.
All right, Sal, I want to get your thought on the secondary. I want to stay there because one thing Vic Fangio did say the other day when he was asked about Quinyon Mitchell, and we don't see this all a lot from the Philadelphia Eagles, is the potential of moving Quinyon Mitchell around the field. In other words, hey, CeeDee Lamb goes left, I go left. He goes right, I go right. Would they have enough confidence in this young man that he could be the guy? Because Fangio said if we ever get to the point where we want to match him on his particular receiver, he's got to know how to play both sides if we want him to play at left or versus right. So we'll figure that out on a weekly basis. Sounds like they want to at least try.
In several ways. Made the practices longer after they lost to the Bucks. Made them be much more communicative on the back end of the defense. Wasn't afraid to play DeJean and Mitchell as rookies, and it paid off in a big way. So he takes calculated risks because he has experience and he's able to do it and see things that others can't. So, I mean, to me, whatever he wants to try out, I think will be beneficial to the football team in the long term. Obviously, Michael, when you're making changes like this, and these are wholesale changes, let's not kid ourselves. When you're making changes like this, you want a guy at the helm who knows what he's doing and has experience to pull it off.
No doubt about it. And obviously, the wholesale changes, a lot of them, Sal Pal, came on the defensive side of the ball. Which of the losses and the changes intrigue you the most in this camp here? Is it replacing Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Darius Slay, the safety spot? There's a lot of other things that we can add to the mix, but those are the guys who walked out the door. Of those new faces, which battle intrigues you the most as camp begins?
Yeah, Michael, I don't think it's the defensive end position. I think it's the safety position that I just laid out for you. Yeah. You look at the NFL right now, and this is why Howie Roseman is so good. By the way, I'm on the Hall of Fame selection committee, and I'm on the subcommittee for contributors. I represented Bill Polian. I represented Bill Parcells. I've been trying to get some others in as contributors. I represented Paul Tagley, all of them guys, and one guy I hope to represent Howie Roseman. Michael, just think about it. Roseman has won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches and 2 different quarterbacks in an 8-year period. It's unbelievable, really, when you think. Name, Bill Polian's in the Hall of Fame. How many Super Bowls did he win?
Yeah, 1.
What? Which one?
The one with Manning in Indianapolis.
Yeah, That's it.
Right. Well, yeah. And you said Roseman has done it with completely two completely different rosters.
Completely different rosters, two different head coaches, two quarterbacks. So, I mean, Roseman's, I want to say it right now. Joe, he's going pro football.
I'm going to pick him up.
One of the things that he has figured
now,
out.
Hold on a second. My Pete G's going to call you back. But your phone connection's a little bit staticky on us here. So Pete's going to pick it up and call you back here and get you back on. But as he mentions, Roseman, we're talking about Roseman and rebuilding this defense. It's one of the reasons Roseman said it on Tuesday when he spoke. We played the press conference for you here on the Sports Bash, that they look at guys leaving in free agency and replacing them with the first-round picks. He looks at those things as almost moves that, hey, one guy walks out the door, we have a guy that can step in, as he talked about in free agency. Hey, you can't bring everybody back, right? You can't bring everybody back. Here's what Howie Roseman said on Tuesday.
From our perspective, when people understand that when they start here, that they have an opportunity to continue here and get rewarded here, it's incredibly important so that when you draft guys, you can show them examples. If you do the right thing on and off the field, we're going to make sure that we keep you here and maybe even have a chance to finish your career here. And I think that just from our perspective, and everyone's got to do things their own way. I'm not saying it's perfect. We make a lot of mistakes. But from our way, that's a core tenet of what we're trying to do here.
That was Howie Roseman on Tuesday talking about replenishing the roster, and they're doing it through the draft. We have Sal Pal back, and you were talking about how this incarnation of this team, well, they're going to have to flip this defense over now, too, with those 5 guys out the door, Sal.
Yeah, they got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And you got to look at what the Eagles did to the opposition in the run to the Super Bowl in the postseason. They tormented offensive lines up the middle. What NFL defenses are doing, and the Eagles lead the way, is rushing the passer straight line up the middle from the defensive tackle position. You look at Trey Hendrickson. He's 30. He rushes from the edge. The Bengals gave up 434 points last year. The New York Jets only gave up 404 and won 5 games. You got to have pass rushers from up the middle. The Eagles have figured that out. And the teams that figure that out, I mean, you look at Micah Parsons. Look at all the points that the Dallas Cowboys gave up last year with Micah Parsons on the field. It's no longer about, look at Myles Garrett. They just paid Myles Garrett in Cleveland. Look at all the points that allowed by the Cleveland Browns defense last year. They couldn't get off the field. It's straight line to the quarterback because the quarterbacks now are getting rid of the ball very quickly. And you've got to be able to force teams to double team your defensive tackles up the middle. And if they don't, like the Rams didn't in the divisional round of the playoffs in the snow, and Carter gets to Matthew Stafford right up the middle, and Jared Verse had a major impact on that game from up the middle. Aaron Donald won a Super Bowl up the middle on Joe Burrow, sacking Burrow 7 times in that Super Bowl. Defenses have figured out, because quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball quickly, you can't come around the edge because quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball so fast. It's got to be straight up the middle. I think not only is Howie Roseman replenishing the roster, he's doing it the smart way. And people always accuse me, Michael, of being a homer. But the proof is in the numbers. The guy has won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches and 2 different quarterbacks. Name a GM in NFL history who has done that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is a turnaround, because I remember in all of our Sal Pal Fridays over the years taking a look back when they were getting a little too cute in the draft and they were making mistakes in the draft. And all of a sudden, that just changed to where he said, hey, look, sometimes you got to make those tough decisions. You got to let one guy walk out the door, and then you're hoping that you replace him with somebody that you drafted. And they've been able to do that. The amount of success they have had, Sal, in the draft has set up all these battles. All of this competition is that I can let Milton Williams, the guy we drafted in the 3rd round, walk out the door because we think we have found guys that we like that can I don't know, do what he did, but can give us an impact, guys that we drafted and develop ourselves. That is where it has been an unbelievable transformation.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jalen Carter was the most double-teamed defensive lineman in the NFL last year. When your defensive tackle up the middle is creating double teams, that allows Nolan Smith Jr. to get to the quarterback. That allows Milton Williams to get to the quarterback and Josh Sweat. A guy to watch this year who's going to have, I think a big year is Moro Ojomo, the 7th-round pick in 2023. He's going to benefit from Jordan Davis being in a contract year. They're lined up next to each other. Davis at nose tackle. Ojomo is replacing Brandon Graham. And he is going to have, I think, a big year. You watch. It's going to be from Moro Ojomo and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. They have enough pass rush. They do.
Antonio, of course, ESPN on a Sal Pal Friday here, taking a look at some of the key storylines with the Eagles back on the practice field. It's great to say that. They're back on the practice field. Training camp has begun. But Vic Fangio yesterday, he was asked about Jalix Hunt because there's a lot of hype about Jalix Hunt. And, this is a guy who was a 3rd-round pick kind of out of nowhere, and then he pops in last year out of necessity and ends up having a great run in the playoffs here. What is the expectations for Jalix Hunt? As it sounds like Vic Fangio wants to taper some of the expectations on him because people are getting a little crazy calling him Micah Parsons out there.
Well, they are, but that's okay. I mean, the thing about Hunt is he's got a good outside move, and he's got a high-end motor, and he's going to help this football team for a long time. There's no question about it. I'm very interested to see how Jahad Campbell makes an impact on this team, if at all. I mean, yeah, he's out there in shorts and helmets, but a shoulder injury on a weak side linebacker is a major deal. And you invested a 1st-round pick on this young man, and I want to see what kind of impact he's going to have because you don't know what you're going to get out of Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Is that, do you think they're surprised that Campbell was able to participate these first couple days?
No, I don't. They're never really surprised about who comes on and off the field because, they do a really good job of managing their roster, Mike.
Well, Fangio had said before that maybe we'll see him sometime in August. Well, here he's out the first day of camp. And I don't know, where's your thoughts on Dean's role and impact this year? Is that something that you have to take a closer look at?
Yeah, I mean, that's weeks and weeks and weeks away.
Sal Paolantonio, all right, we got training camp. We're talking a lot of defense, but on the offensive side of the ball, Kevin Patullo, is he under the microscope for you?
He certainly is, Mike. He's never called plays at the NFL level, but he's going to have a lot of help. He's a super smart guy. He's been with the Sirianni regime for 5 years, the entire time Sirianni's been in Philly. So he knows the offense. He knows Jalen. He's going to have to adjust to what Jalen wants. And he will get a lot of help from Nick. He'll get a lot of help from Jeff Stoutland. And he'll get a lot of help from the best offense line in the National Football League. I'm not concerned at all about how they match up because the weight and size of their offensive line is the biggest in the National Football League. And, if you study the game closely, you can see that defenses are shrinking in the last 25 years. Last year, Mike, there were 202 starters on the front 7 National Football League, 202 who are 240 pounds or less. And that's the most in the last 24 years. So it's, honey, I shrunk the defense. And they've been shrinking the defense for a very specific reason, because the passing game has been at the forefront. They want quickness, quick twitch guys who can cover tight end from linebacker, guys who can come off the edge. But the Eagles have figured this out. They have such a great analytics department that now they match up with the biggest O-line against some of these smaller defenses, and they can just steamroll them with their running game like they did last year and with the push-tush.
It's funny, Sal. Landon Dickerson's 6'6". He looks like a child standing next to Jordan Mailata. Right? I mean, it's crazy. The size of that offensive line. When you think about like that, Landon Dickerson is a 6'6" road grader, and he looks small next to his partner Jordan Mailata. That tells you all you need to know about this offensive line.
They got a tremendous size in the offensive line, and it's a great mismatch. In the NFL, big guys beat small guys.
Always. And you're seeing this offensive line right now. The one spot, Tyler Steen, we'll see what ends up happening there. And we'll keep our eye on it here on Sal Pal Fridays. And tomorrow morning, you can keep an eye on NFL Live Back Together Weekend. Laura Rutledge, joined by Dan Orlovsky, Lewis Riddick, Adam Schefter, Field Yates, and Sal Paolantonio, amongst the other reporters who are going to be all around the league in on the first week of training camp. ESPN's NFL reporters will be dispersed across the country, and Sal Paolantonio will be in Philadelphia at the NovaCare Complex. That all starts tomorrow on ESPN ABC television, a Saturday morning edition of NFL Live. Sal Paolantonio back, and that's our good buddy Johnny G. We were talking to Johnny G over at Burger the other day. He was texting into the show, looking forward to another year of Sal Pal Fridays.
Well, I can't wait to go down and see Johnny G at the Burger, at the Griner team at Burger Realty in Ocean City, New Jersey. Who knows when I'll get down there now that I'm in full swing here. But I'm just glad to be on your show again, Michael. We have a great partnership, and say hello to all your friends at the Jersey Shore and tell them I'll be down there shortly. Okay, brother?
All right, man. We'll catch up with you. There's Sal Paolantonio right here on the Sports Bash Live on 90. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. We are live today. We are at the Tropicana showroom. Boxer Insider Promotion returns for another action-packed fight inside the showroom tonight, right behind us. We are right out front of the showroom. When you come inside the Tropicana, you head up the escalators to the showroom floor. The action starts tonight. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com or at the Tropicana box office. And, of course, the Sports Bash this hour is brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing service, and installation. Call 609-390-3907. When we come back, Bob Wankel from the Fightin' Words podcast joins me for a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. It's next. All right, 3:29. It's a Happy Hour Friday. I got a Happy Hour Friday pick for you. Coming up a little bit later. Stick around for that. Bob Wankel from the Fighting Words podcast, Crossing Broad, is back for a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat, and he joins us right now. Less than 1 week from the trade deadline, Bob. We got so many, this is the wonky season. You have been a guy who has covered the team on a day-to-day basis. What do you make of, this week leading up to that Nick Castellanos might have some interest on the market, or the Phillies could have interest in Suarez with Bohm out? What are the listeners supposed to make of some of this stuff?
The thing I always say about the trade deadline and the way it gets covered, one, teams leak this information. They want certain narratives to be put out there on X and on the airwaves, and it gets buzz going. And a lot of these reporters, they love this stuff. It's a way to get their name in the headline. They run with it. They get more followers, retweets, likes. And so there's a little bit of a game that's played from the media perspective too. I think that there's some smoke here, some serious smoke, though, signaling that the Phillies are going to do something of significance in the next 6 days. I don't think when we get here a week from now and you and I are talking that we're going to say, wow, this deadline was just like the one in 22 or 23 or 24. I think this is going to be more impactful. And I think that the Phillies, though they may not get to the finish line on some of these concepts that they're currently working on, I think they are probably exploring numerous avenues, some of which would be borderline stunning should they play out. I do feel that.
All right, so let's talk about some of these that we might be stunned by. Which ones passed the smell test for you, Bob Wankel?
Well, look, I mean, you see that the Yankees just acquired McMahon from Colorado, and that's of importance to the Phillies. If the Phillies really do have interest in Eugenio Suarez, the Yankees were considered one of the primary, most likely landing spots for him. Now, there's not a clear indication that Arizona is going to make a deal and blow everybody out of there, and Suarez included, but he's a guy that is not under team control beyond this year. Arizona has lost 3 straight games after coming out of the break with 3 straight wins. I think they're going to move him. I think he'd be a great fit for the Phillies. I know that you'd have to do some things defensively and shift some things around, but we talk about the right-handed power bat in the middle of the order, and it doesn't get much better than a guy that's got 36 home runs right now. I mean, hell, Mike, he basically has out-homered every Phillies right-handed hitter combined this season. So it would be a dramatic upgrade from that perspective.
Well, and obviously Suarez plays third. Bohm could play first, and if you could move Nick Castellanos, you could put Harper back in his natural right field spot, which would obviously be a fit there. So is that something that seems plausible?
There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of outcomes. Here's what I will say. I think that if you were, and I feel pretty confident about this. I think if you were to get the Phillies front office in a room and say, hey, could you find a way this offseason to move on from Nick Castellanos and Alec Bohm? Would you do it? Would you be happy to do it? And I think that they would be. And I think so much so that I do not believe that Alec Bohm is going to be part of the 2026 Phillies. I just don't. And I think that there's a world where they would love to free up the Castellanos money and reinvest that. I think that's more likely to be a winter time deal. But I think it's something that they will certainly explore here in the short term. If they could unload one of those 2 players, I think that they would consider doing it. And I mean, in a perfect world, Bohm's under contract next year, under team control beyond this season. He doesn't become a free agent until 27. If you could find a team that could give you back a part, and then they say, look, we're middling it. We're not going full fire sale. We want a useful guy that can sort of hit in the middle of the order, be a 285 hitter. We can sell that to our fan base. If they could find a landing spot for Alec Bohm, I think they'd do that in a heartbeat.
Oh, I agree with that. And I also agree, I don't think Harper wants to play outfield long term. I think he would do it for probably the rest of this season if Castellanos got moved. And then you move Bohm. That obviously, because I agree with you, I think somebody else has got to go to try to fit the parts here, and that would mean in the offseason, you got to try hard to move Bohm. And then now Suarez would also be a free agent as well, so that would add a wrinkle to this mix as well, right?
I think that they'd be okay with the element of unknown beyond this year. Opening up these spots and having some flexibility, I don't think is something that turns off the Phillies. Like the fact that the guy would only be a rental, I don't think necessarily is something they balk at. Now, in a perfect world, you get a guy that's under team control for multiple seasons that you feel like can grow and become part of your core. But I don't know that that's the reality for the Phillies here. The market is not rife with that type of player. But to your point about Bryce Harper having to change positions, do I think it's likely that he's playing somewhere beyond first base this season? I guess I don't, but I think it's more likely that they make a short-term move with him than a long-term move. Like, I don't think you're going to see Bryce Harper go back to the outfield for a multi-year run after this season. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be because he realizes that they need the help, that he might have to be flexible, and that type of bat, that type of impact could push them over the top in what is a very suspect National League.
Bob Wankel from the Fight Words podcast. You can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, Crossing Broad. He is with us here on a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. And this chat centered a lot around what could happen 6 days from now. Some bigger names, some interesting names coming out there, and the possibility, hey, there's a team that could have interest in Nick Castellanos. The Phillies could be involved here. What about Lewis Robert and that situation there? I mean, he is not in the lineup tonight, by the way, against a left-handed pitcher, which seems pretty ominous for him. But is that the guy that you would take? Now, I say I would take a flyer on him, meaning I would take him if you're not making me give up one of my top 4 or 5 prospects. What level of player, or is he just a platoon player in your mind?
Well, look, I mean, the fact of the matter with him is that he has been a massive underachiever for the parts of 2 seasons now. But when you look at the skills and what he's capable of, and there's a track record, albeit not a long one, of success, and having that type of difference-making upside that the Phillies desperately need, he's interesting. And he has been a little bit better lately. He's hitting 400 over his last 7 games. He's hitting 298 over his last 15. He's really showing some signs of life offensively for the first time in a very long time. When you say take a flyer, it just depends what the price tag is. I think that there's numerous teams that are interested in him and what he brings to the table. I think the Mets being one of them. That's one of the teams that's been linked to him a little bit. And so if you're talking about the Crawfords and the Adam Millers of the world, like if it gets to that, I don't think that the Phillies are going to swim in those waters. But if it's a situation where you can trade your 8th overall prospect and your 12th overall prospect and maybe take a shot, you could probably do worse than that. There is a thought that if you put him in a better situation, a team that's playing for something with veterans, and you add in the accountability factor, something that has not been part of that White Sox organization at all, maybe you get the best of him, you get more from him. So it's interesting, but is that the one that makes you go, hey, here they come, book the World Series tickets? I don't know.
All right, I don't know how much stock you put into O'Neill Cruz's actually being someone they're interested in, another left-handed bat. I don't think I'm all that interested in O'Neill Cruz. Is that crazy?
I'm not either. Certainly when he's a guy that can do electric things, and when he hits them, they go a long way. He's got 16 home runs this year. He's stolen 33 bags. Under team control for multiple seasons through 2028. That's all interesting. But again, left-handed, I don't know that he truly is the long-term solution. I don't know that he buds into that player that you hope he can be, even with the talent. And quite honestly, he's a guy that's ice cold right now too. I mean, he's hitting 205 with 3 home runs over his last 112 at bats spanning 30 games.
Yeah.
It's not like you're getting him in the middle of a heater here. So I get it. It's interesting. What that shows me more than anything else, though, is that the Phillies, if you believe the report, aren't just saying, all right, what are our quick fix options out here? Who's the right-handed platoon option? Like that they are engaging in conversations that are a little bit more creative than what we might have otherwise thought. And I would be encouraged as a Phillies fan about that.
All right, by the way, Phillies lineup is out. It is brought to you by Instant Services, the tri-state area's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to see how you can win 4 Phillies Hall of Fame Club tickets. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos, Realmuto, Marsh, Kepler, Kemp, Stott is the 9-hole hitter tonight. So stick with Kepler out there. Are we seeing the final 6 days of Max Kepler's existence here? Realistically, I guess the question is, the retort from you might be, how realistic is it that Justin Crawford is still here by Thursday of next week?
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't believe that Max Kepler is going to be part of this team after the deadline. I don't. I think that we saw his last game at Citizens Bank Park this past week. I actually, to be honest with you, my co-host on the podcast, Anthony Sanfilippo, feels the same way. We certainly sit in that camp. I know that it's sort of the popular take, and a lot of times I hesitate when everybody says, "Oh, you have to move on, you have to DFA him, you have to find a way to get rid of this guy and unload him." But I think you do, and I think they're going to. I think they're just waiting for the dust to settle and for them to really understand what the composition of their outfield is. At this point, I think you'd rather, even if you have some concerns that Crawford can be an immediate difference maker for you, if you're unable to land that outfield piece, I think that you would bring him up and give it a shot because it's not going to be any worse than Max Kepler. I think they're going to move on one way or the other.
Yep, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm actually surprised at this stage he's playing as much as he has here recently. I know right-handed pitcher going, and I guess you're just going to keep going with status quo. But at this point, now I guess with Kemp having to play third base, that kind of changes the dynamics there. But if Bohm was here, I wonder if they would just give Kemp these starts at left field, see if he can handle hitting some right-handed pitching.
Yeah, they might. And look, you're in New York this weekend. You have the short porch out in right field. I mean, he's here. He's still, though I think we all agree, he's been generally terrible for the Phillies. He does represent some possibility of pop, and in that stadium, I think you let him take a few cuts, and you play it out over the next few days, and then you make your decisions.
I want to go back to Wednesday night. Get your thoughts on that fifth inning, Bob. Everybody loves to blame somebody. Do you watch that fifth inning and put blame? Do you watch that fifth inning and say, the game it just kind of snowballed and got away from you? How do you reflect back? Because that fifth inning is the one I think people look at in a playoff situation and say, this is on Rob Thompson. You got to take the pitcher out. You got to go to the mound. You got to do something. How do you look back and reflect at that fifth inning the other night with Jesus Luzardo, who was cruising along through 4, leadoff double, then a walk, then he gets 2 outs. You have 2 outs in the fifth with 2 on. Not the biggest high wire act here, 2 on, 2 outs. Then he walks the bases loaded. Your thoughts on up to that point?
Yeah, I mean, once Duran reaches and it gets to 5-2, I think you kind of expect a move at that point. And part of the reason why, and look, I mean, he had a no-hitter into the fifth. I know it kind of caught them off guard. Things snowballed quickly in that inning. All of those things are true, but he is also a pitcher that has shown that when he loses it, he loses it. And he has numerous times now not shown an ability to bear down and stop the bleeding, so to speak. And for that reason, I thought that they would be a little bit more aggressive. Rob, after the game, talked about wanting Romano ready for Story. I just don't. I think he was a batter too late. It's easy to say that. It sounds like a hindsight's 2020 type of opinion, but I sort of felt that as I watched the inning play out. Jesus Luzardo. I mean, look, that's the real issue here. Opposing hitters have a 656 OPS against him this season with nobody on base. With men on, it's 834. With runners in scoring position, it's 916. So we could talk about, is it mechanical? Is he tipping? What's going on when he's in the stretch? All of that could be a problem. But you have to wonder at some point, to what end is this a mental thing with him? And he's just not able to kind of turn into a killer in moments where they need him to be. And he says all the right things after the games. He's accountable. He tells you everything you want to hear. He's working night and day. He's sick over it. He takes the blame. And so when you hear those things, you say, all right, that sounds like the right type of stuff and in terms of a mental makeup. But, man, when it comes to actually producing in the moment, it's just he too often he just falters. In those 2 games, you had the Toronto and Milwaukee blow-ups. Well, in 8 starts since, he has a 4.79 ERA. I mean, it just isn't. It's just not good enough. That's the real issue.
Is it good enough to say we're going to move you to the bullpen and pitch in a high leverage spot in a playoff game?
Well, I mean, and that's the great unknown, because you look at the stuff and you look at him hit the Red Sox for 4 innings and say, well, this plays. You go back to that Mets start a few weeks ago. In the Sunday night game, he gets Soto in a key spot, strikes him out, right? And you're like, ooh, like that would look good in the 7th or 8th inning, right, of a playoff game. But if you're struggling from the stretch, you're struggling in tight spots more often than not, and you're having trouble with runners on base, like that doesn't scream, high leverage reliever. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that it works, but from a stuff standpoint, it should work.
All right, before we roll, this is a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. When we have a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat next week, the moves will have been made. Who stays, who goes? Crawford here or not?
I think he's gone.
Crawford gone. Mick Abel.
I think he's gone.
Ooh, that's too big. Are they in the same deal?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he's gone. I think he's out here. I see a lot of college pitchers drafted recently here. I think that there's something to that,
Okay. Miller, Painter, either one gone.
I do not think Painter is gone. That would be an absolute stunner. Miller, I'll say no, but I think if the right player, right bat came along, I think maybe he would be in play.
Anybody on the big league roster or any of the non-named prospects?
I think Escobar is a guy that teams are going to like from a minor league standpoint. Tait, I think, is a guy that many teams will call on. I would not be shocked if he were part of something. And quite honestly, again, I will tell you that I am sure that they will mention the name Alec Boehm in some of their conversations. I know people probably think I'm crazy. I truly believe that if they could, they would move off of him. The injury obviously complicates things a little bit there, though, as well.
There's a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. Happy Hour Friday, Bob.
All right, Mike. Talk soon.
All right, see ya. There's Bob Wankel, everybody. Crossing Broad and the Fighting Words podcast with Anthony Sanfilippo. He thinks that Crawford gone, Abel gone, and that could equal 2 big deals, maybe 1 big deal. We'll continue to look at that. 6 days to the deadline. All right, coming up, it's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day coming up next. And it has to do with one Nick Sirianni. You don't want to miss it. We're live at the Tropicana Atlantic City showroom for tonight's Boxing Insider promotion. It returns for another action-packed fight night. We'll have more details throughout the show. Stop on out. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com or at the Tropicana box office. More Sports Bash coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
If you thought Nick Sirianni was John Madden or Vince Lombardi, he'd be the highest paid coach in the NFL. Ain't no salary cap on coaches. Ain't no limit to what Harry Roseman could pay him. And that's why I struggle with Nick Sirianni being considered one of the top 5 coaches in the league. I don't see a world where that's actually the reality.
How many, let's take the Eagles 53-man roster. How many coaches would you, CC, take? Because Small said she'd take 4 in essence. How many coaches in the NFL would you say, I'd rather have that coach for this team than Nick Sirianni?
We're at double digits now.
Double digits?
We're at double digits now. I'm at double digits.
I need to hear that whole list.
I
got to hear the list.
You're saying, just to clarify, you're saying that Nick Sirianni, Super Bowl winning head coach, is not in the top 10 of coaches in the NFL right now? Is that what you're saying?
I would take every coach in the AFC West over Nick Sirianni. Every single one of them.
All right, that's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. I think Chris Canty is now well aware that we do the unsportsmanlike moment of the day and gave one of the most asinine takes you could possibly hear on the show, 6 to 10 a.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. I mean, it's preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous to say that you would take double-digit head coaches over Nick Sirianni. I mean, the amount of absolute insanity in the NFL world about the job that this guy does is mind-blowing. I mean, it's one thing you say, all right, well, the quarterback is the 9th-ranked quarterback in the league. Okay, who really cares? Well, then he just won the Super Bowl with a guy who is just good, not great, right? He's saying he would take double-digit head coaches right now over a guy who has won, I don't know, almost 70% of his games.
He's been in the postseason every single year since becoming a head coach. He's been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. But he would take everyone in the AFC West.
Yeah, that includes Sean Payton, Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, and
Jim Harbaugh,
which are all very good head coaches, by the way, except the fact that Andy Reid, now they are 1-1 against each other
Correct.
in Super Bowls. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Nick has a better resume than Andy, but he got something done in Philadelphia that Andy could not get done, which is to win a Super Bowl in one of the most difficult towns to play in. Harbaugh, all right, he's been to a Super Bowl with the 49ers. Good head coach. Doesn't have a Super Bowl in his resume. Pete Carroll does have a Super Bowl in his resume, as does Sean Payton. Those guys are well-established coaches. However, in the here and now, in terms of what he has done, to say that you would take double-digit head coaches in the current league over the current Super Bowl champion who has been at another championship, Chris Canty, you know that the unsportsmanlike moment of the week is a segment on our show, and that is why you had said something so ridiculous and outlandish, and I will not stand for it anymore. Your slander of this man is outrageous. And when we see you at Radio Row next year at the Super Bowl, I will call you out on it, my friend. I will call you out. Football at 4 with Adam Caplan is next. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, which you can get on all podcasting platforms, is here. And, hey, first week of Eagles training camp is in the books. Some storylines, including Jahad Campbell, the first-round pick, his first action out there. And Vic Fangio did speak and said, yeah, it was good to have him out there. Is it a surprise that he was out there? Let's bring in Adam Caplan now for today's Football at 4, as the Eagles have practiced twice so far this week. A little walkthrough today. They will practice tomorrow. They'll be off on Sunday. But are we surprised that Campbell was out on the field? They had said sometime in August. Well, by my watch here, Adam, it is July 25th. That's before August.
Yeah, Mike, good to be with you. Yeah, and that, by the way, my welcome music is, of course, with Hulk Hogan passing away, Mike. So I know you're a big wrestling guy like I am. So Terry Bollea passes away at 71 years old yesterday, so we just wanted to mention that as we go through here. So, yeah, let's get back to Jahad Campbell, right? So Jahad Campbell, Mike, was at least a few weeks ahead of schedule. That's great that he's on the field, and he's already running with the second team. It's not like they had a lot of inside backers. And Kobe Dean, obviously going to be out a while. With Campbell being able to practice, they have just 6 inside backers, and 2 of them are undrafted free agents. So Dallas Gant, last year undrafted free agent, Lance Dixon. This one, they're not really in the rotation yet. So, yeah, Campbell's already getting reps. Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. It's a good injury note from Fangio because he didn't know it until recently, as I understand it. So, yeah, now we'll talk in the segment about Campbell's role, potential role, and everything that goes along with it. But that's a big story, Mike, for training camp. None of us were expecting it.
Right. The fact that he is out there, can he now, because he got out there to start training camp, how does that factor in his week 1 availability against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night?
Now, the question, Mike, isn't whether he's going to be available. That's already been answered, Mike. Now, the question is, what's going to be his role? Because he missed their entire offseason program. I watched him take mental reps. He's being cross-trained a little bit with the edge group, but he's going to be an inside linebacker for now. The question is, Mike, and we're going to learn a lot more once they should be in pads at some time next week. Now, the acclimation period is 5 practices. You cannot have contact through 5 practices. But sometime late next week, if they choose to, they can be in pads. And that's when you're really going to know exactly where he's at. If he's in pads, Mike, it's not a question even right now that he's going to be ready for week 1. And we talked about this on Inside the Birds recently, even before we knew he'd be ready to start practicing. Once he got cleared, it's how far behind is he going to be from a mental standpoint? Because remember, Mike, he's relatively new to inside backer. You remember he went to Alabama as an edge rusher. So he's only been really doing this position 3 years. So you can't just assume like he's going to pull off a Zach Bonds type of situation. We know he's a first-round pick. He's got to play if he's a first-round pick. If they think he's absolutely ready to go, be a starter week 1, Mike, there won't be much of a discussion. He'll be starting. That's the way it works. You don't hold players back. Do you remember the talk last summer when Quinyon Mitchell was running with the 3s? You might remember what I told you. I said, Mike, if he's ready to start, he's going to start week 1. There will be not much of a discussion internally. First-round picks start if they're ready to play.
Yeah, and I guess, one thing with Jahad Campbell was, is he just an inside linebacker? Is he a guy that they could deploy all over the field? I guess now that he is on the field for training camp, we can start finding that out sooner than later.
I know Fangio said, well, it depends on other players. I would say this. Something we've talked about Inside the Birds over years is when we talk to coaches around the National Football League, they love inside backers who can rush, and Campbell can rush. You could line him up as a joker, which means a movable player on defense. So Jim Johnson do this, the late great Jim Johnson. You can line him as an edge player. You could rush him from an inside standpoint, Mike. There's a lot you can do with him, and you don't find inside backers built like this. So we'll learn a little bit more once he gets cleared for contact. We assume he is already, but we'll learn for sure next week once they go into pads. I'm interested to see, Mike. Now, part of it we have to understand because of the missed time in the offseason, he's behind in terms of being on the field and learning. So maybe they don't give him the kitchen sink right now. Maybe they don't give him a ton. They have to build up his learning process, and that's coming, Mike. That's certainly going to come every day he practices. But when I'm there tomorrow, Mike, and that practice is at 10 a.m. at NovaCare, in the heat, by the way, it's going to be a scorcher this weekend. I've got to say, Mike, we're only 3 practices in tomorrow. I look forward to seeing how they actually use him. And that could be coming. They could do more with him.
Yeah, and they did say Vic Fangio was asked on, what's today? Friday. He was asked on Thursday. He was seen working out with Jeremiah Washburn, who is the defensive end outside linebacker, kind of the edge rush coach. So I guess that gives you a little insight that maybe they want to kind of use him in that role as well. I definitely think that's an emerging story that would be interesting. And then there's the other guys, Adam, because Nakobe Dean, who we'll get to in just a moment here, if he's not ready to go, Jeremiah Trotter's role with this team, is he in the mix to start there, or do they look at him more of a backup guy?
Well, here's the thing. Right now, Trotter is ahead of Campbell, but what I always tell people, you chart everything, you read into nothing, you wait till the situation plays itself out. Wait at least a week, and then we'll make a little bit more of a judgment or an evaluation. But Trotter right now is running with ones because he's been there. This is the second year of the defense. This is Campbell's first he's had his first practices in the scheme. So we have to let this thing roll a little bit, Mike, and just see. But let's not forget, Mike, and this does matter. It matters really a lot to the front office. Trotter's a 5th-round pick. Campbell's a 1st. Do the math. If Campbell's ready week 1 to start, he's going to start. That's just the way it works, whether fans want to accept it or not. I've covered this business 27 years. I've learned the hard way, thinking, what I see early might tell me what's going to happen. Not really. You got to let the situation play out, and we'll get to Smile Mon, and also is very intriguing. But Campbell's so much bigger physically than Trotter. Trotter's really smart, instinctive, and that does matter. But Campbell's a 1st-round pick, way bigger physically. He's got better versatility. He's got more to him, but Campbell's got to prove it first. That's where we are with Campbell right now.
Okay, so you mentioned Mondin. What is his role, if any, on this team? Is he a guy?
Yeah.
Do you think he makes the team, number one, I guess?
He's making it. Yeah, that's a lock that'll make it. He's a 5th-round pick. Howie doesn't he rarely, I'd have to go back, when he had personnel control. The first year Howie had full personnel control would be 2016. He had shared control with Chip Kelly. Starting 16, he's had it ever since. I'd have to look if he's ever cut a 5th-round pick after his first training camp, but it's highly unlikely that Mondin would be cut no matter how he performs. But the thing is, he's got better length. He's a little bit better athlete than Trot Jr. I know Trot Jr., we put this out last year, was doing really well in practice, in training, in the regular season, Mike, in their regular season practices. But this is a big camp for him. This is his 2nd year with the club. Mondin's a rookie. He's got good length, national champion, and there's some good things you like about him. Now, he's another guy, the word I heard on Mondin is why he dropped to the 5th. His frame is a little bit wiry. He needs to put a little bit of weight on him, which is fine. He probably, depending on who you spoke to, could have gone in the 4th round. Eagles think they obviously got a good value with him in the 5th. I'm not sure about his injury history, but the question for him would be, let's say week 1, right? It's Vaughn, it's Campbell, it's Trot Jr. He would dress, if they dress 4 inside backers to me. That's probably where this is headed right now. But again, we've only had 2 practices. Who knows what? You can't rule out Mondin moving way up. Again, we're way too early, but he shouldn't be anything worse than their 4th inside backer this season.
All right, then there's the starter, who is Nakobe Dean. What happens to him when he is cleared later this season? I think this one is going to be I'm interested to see what your answer is here, because this was not it's not like he's coming back from a hamstring injury or a broken leg. This is a pretty gruesome major injury. So,
Mike, torn patella tendon was probably, when I first started in the Covering League, my first full year was 2000, was not only a season ender. Some guys simply just come back from it. Or B, they were never the same. And it's really a 1.5 to 2 year process to feel relatively normal. The typical rehab is 7 to 9 months, not 5 to 6 for an ACL. It's longer. We've had former head athletic or assistant athletic trainers on to talk about this injury. It's better. The medical science has improved the last couple of decades, but it's a tough deal. Remember, Dean had surgery, I believe, in February, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around that area. It's just tough, Mike. I know he looks great, but we told people last year, we kind of laughed when Sidney Brown looked good running. Some of the reporters who didn't know any better, bloggers, they would get the Eagles practice. Oh, boy, looks like he'll be ready for the season. No, folks. He's running in a straight line. He's not allowed to practice. Just relax a little bit. It's nice that he's able to run. Sidney Brown was not even close to being ready for the start of the season, as we all would learn. So now, let's say he's back, Mike, week 4 or 5. In terms of him getting the starting job back, it comes down to this. A, what does he look like? Is he 50% of what he once was? If he's able to play football, that's one thing. But is he able to start a game? Is he able to play 65 to 70% of snaps? They got to get through that. They don't know what this looks like. And that's the problem. Like, I know Fangio's kind of sort of hinted that he'll get his job back. Well, it's easy to say in the offseason, Mike. It's a lot harder to say 5 or 6 months from there. Like, we got to understand that. We got a long way to go here for Nakobe Dean. It's just a shame because he was playing the lights out. Was he a Pro Bowler? I can't even remember. I don't remember what his situation was, Mike.
Nakobe, you have to look that one. I don't know that. I don't think he made the Pro Bowl last year, but I thought Fangio certainly. Fangio's truth serum. You just ask him questions, he gives you the real answers. Yep. And he was asked, "Are they underestimating when he can come back?" He says, "I don't think so." And they asked, "No. Do you think he'll be around to start the season?" And he said, to start the season, no, he's not going to be around for the start of the season. Yeah. So then, right, now you're giving Campbell a chance to get the snaps. And once Campbell gets on the field, I would imagine, Adam, your hope is that he plays well enough that he doesn't come off the field.
100% right, Mike. You said it very well. When it was verboten, if a guy got hurt, he get his job back. Coaches don't care anymore. They're trying to win. Mm-hmm. I mean, Now, it would have to be a discussion with Howie. It's like it would be a discussion with Sirianni. It would be a discussion with Bobby King, who coaches the inside backers. Fangio, obviously, and they make a decision. But they defer to Vic, who they think is the better option. One thing about Fangio is, right, and I know talking to people over the years who work with him in front offices, Vic is headstrong. He will stand up to, like, he'll tell you what he thinks. If he has to fight for himself, he'll do that. Like, if he doesn't agree with the general manager. So on your question and your point, Mike, which is well taken, if Campbell's playing lights out, they're not taking him out. It's just I know the way this is. Mm-hmm. Vic was very diplomatic in the spring about it. He's nice about it, but Mike, you just nailed it. In all sports, you can lose your job. It's just the way it is.
Well, especially to a number 1 overall. I mean, not a number 1 overall.
He's a first round pick. He wasn't the first pick overall, but he's a first round pick.
Right.
So yeah, got it. I have nothing else to add because you nailed it.
All right, Adam Caplan, everybody. A look at Jahan Campbell, which was really one of the big stories. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. We'll look more at that next week as we'll see if over the weekend those stories continue to materialize. But Campbell being on the field, probably one of the best stories to see.
Big story, Mike.
Yes, big time to get him out there to start. And, of course, Football at 4. We'll have it all next week right here on the Sports Best. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms for more on Eagles training camp. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, Adam Caplan, everybody. Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. And, look, Jahan Campbell, as Vic Fangio said in the practice, in the press conference this week, he basically admitted that, he's out there. He said it's good to see him out there. I wasn't expecting to see him out there. He admitted that. He said the trainers have been telling me all spring that would be at some point in August when he'd be out there. So I'm learning that our trainers like to underestimate and overachieve so they look good. So he makes a little joke there, obviously. But he also was asked about what did Campbell's knowledge level look like after the summer, and, had a couple of weeks off after the mini camps and stuff. He says, I thought he did fine yesterday. In the spring, I was having him off to the side, and we were doing drills. And then yesterday, for the first time, he's in there and moving offense and what he's been exposed to this point. I thought he did fine. Generally, Vic Fangio will say, hey, he's got a lot to learn. It's his first day back out there, and he kind of gives you the I was so surprised that he was even on the field, and he excelled on the field. So Good stuff from Adam for Football at 4 today for Jahad Campbell returning to the field. I think that story, Campbell, is at the top of the list. Nakobe Dean, whether he'll be back or not, I'll say this. It's the end of July. I don't know that Nakobe Dean has much of an impact this season at all. That would be my, I don't want to say hope, but that means that Campbell's playing well enough that Dean can't get back on the field like we just kind of talked about.
And I think, as you pointed out before, Mike, that the fact that Campbell is already out there is a clear sign that, if he's already taking reps now, that he's not missing practice time, right? It's not like last year with Cooper DeJean. Remember with Coop, where it was, hey, he didn't practice most of the month of August, so he didn't come back till after the bye week. I think that the fact that Campbell's already out there is a great sign that if things keep progressing the way they are, that's your week 1 linebacker.
Well, I think it's definitive that he'll be the week 1 linebacker. Listening to what he said about Smile Mondin, obviously, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., it's going to be Campbell. Campbell's going to be on the field with Zach Bond. They'll be the 2 linebackers to start the season. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. A lot of people streaming in today. We appreciate that. If you're on the YouTube channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can comment in the YouTube chat as well. If you're watching on the X platform, at Mike Gill Show, hit the retweet button, repost button, if you will, and you can hit the comment button there as well. Earnshaw is out today. No Nuggets, but today we have a new edition of Pete's Pizza.
I like that.
Pete's Pizza. Couple slices, Pete. How many slices do you got in the Pete's Pizza picks today? Wow, 5 slices. Well, they're coming up next right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday looks like we'll see scattered rain and thunderstorms to start, breaking up in the afternoon. Pretty steamy, high of 84.
At 425 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. It's time for Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. No Nick Earnshaw today. He is out. No Nuggets. Pete G is back in the studio, and he is hosting today's Nuggets with a special edition of Pete's Pizza with a couple of slices of pizza. Pete G, fire away. It was on the fly, man. It's on the fly. Would you like Pete's pierogies? Petey's tenders. That's not bad. It's a good question. Did we need a Happy Gilmore too? Probably not. I think the Adam Sandler thing kind of like jumped the shark. Is that fair or unfair?
I think it's fair, not just because it's been 25 years since the first movie came out, but
Billy Madison was a good movie. Happy Gilmore was good, but I don't need a second Happy Gilmore.
Nobody needed a second Happy Gilmore.
And I would have to imagine that this movie is not going to be very good.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the one interview with Adam Sandler, but he was talking about how apparently he was trying to make this movie for like several years.
Yeah.
And it's basically been one of those deals where they basically weren't able to get like everything organized, and then COVID happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't need a second Happy Gilmore. I will say, when I was in college, Billy Madison had just come out, and we watched Billy Madison every single day. We would literally watch it every single day, over and over. And so that one would be a second Billy Madison. I don't know how you would follow that up though, because obviously
his kid,
Billy Madison. I guess if his kid did the same thing, and now he was the dad that was trying to help his kid get through school. ROCK. Oh, the C is silent.
Touche.
Yeah, Billy Madison was the better movie than Happy Gilmore.
I mean, I like Happy Gilmore more, but that's because I'm a sports dork. So, Billy Madison, that was a classic. Big Daddy's a classic. My problem with Adam Sandler, I don't know about you guys, is there was a point in time where it was like Adam Sandler just started making serious movies,
right,
and rom-coms, and you're kind of like, all right, I've lost interest in Adam Sandler.
You didn't like 50 First Dates?
Not really.
Pete?
No.
No?
I'm out.
Grown Ups 1 and Grown Ups 2 was fun.
See, I like Drew Barrymore, so I'm in on 50 First Dates.
To me, Sandler's just going through the motions at this point.
Sandler, I think, has jumped the shark. There's no question about it.
It was a payday.
Yeah, Billy Madison 2 on Netflix. I don't know that. I was actually got an email earlier this week, offered somebody from Billy Madison 2 to have on the air, and I completely forgot to respond to it. Now that you're bringing it up, I didn't realize it's coming out tonight.
Yes. Well,
Happy
it's already
Gilmore's
out.
coming out
Yeah,
tonight.
Happy Gilmore too, yeah.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah, sorry. I'm out.
All right, question number 2. Let's go back to February 9th, 2025. That was the date that the Eagles won the Super Bowl over the Chiefs. Are they a better team now or then? Obviously, on paper, they haven't played the games yet this year, but on paper, are they a better team now or then?
On paper, they were a better team then, I would have to say. But we had a poll question on Tuesday's show, which defense could be better, this year's or last year's. 70% said last year's defense is better than this year's defense. But I think there are some avenues that the Eagles defense can get to be better this year. Like, in other words, if Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Jalen Carter and Zach Bond are all better than they were last year, is the Eagles defense better? Or is it, well, Jalen Hunt has to be better than Josh Sweat. Whoever plays corner has to be better than Darius Slay. Whoever plays safety has to be better than C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I don't know that that's the case. Like, I think if some of those guys just hold their weight and the other guys get better, then I think the defense can actually be better, which would make the team better then. And that would be the avenue as to why the Eagles could actually be better this year than last year, is if the key guys like Mitchell and DeJean and Bond and Carter and Nolan Smith, throw him in there too, Jalix Hunt, those guys, if they all take, Mosher brought it up last week during Football at 4. His biggest storylines are the repeat offenders. What version of the repeat offenders, meaning guys who had good seasons last year, what versions of them do you get this year? And if they're better than they were last year, the team will be better than they were last year.
Some of those guys are gone. Like Sweat, Milton Williams. I mean,
right, but my point is, forget the guys that are gone. The guys that are here from last year that had good seasons last year, if they're better this year than they were last year,
right,
then the Eagles' defense can be better.
Like, for example, Zach Baum was talking with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship on their Exciting Mike's podcast about how, hey, last year we were just trying to learn the defense. Now we can actually grow the defense. So if the idea is that, hey, how much better could these guys be now that they have a second year in this system? And some of the players seem to think they can be better.
Yeah, because I don't know that Jalix Hunt's going to be better than Josh Sweat, but he could be. I'm not going to sit here and say he's definitively going to be better, but he could be. I think Nolan Smith can be better this year than he was last year, but it's not a fait accompli that he's going to be better. He might be. I don't know.
And by the way, can I just say really quick, people keep bringing up Hunt, and it's cute and everything that we're saying is looking good in camp. You still have two veterans out there who have plenty of time to usurp him, and Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche. For all we know, week 1, Hunt isn't even starting.
Well, I would say to both Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche is a great example of you better have a second act, because now that everyone's talking about you, they're going to be watching your film and seeing your moves. And Josh Uche had 11.5 sacks one year, and then people started to game plan for him, and he has not been able to. There was no second act for him at this point in time.
Do you like how the Eagles have been building their team? It seems like all the guys you mentioned on defense, they're the young guys. And if you switch over to the offense, it's all kind of older veteran players who've been in the league for a while. It's kind of younger guys on defense and older veteran guys on offense.
I mean, I don't know how you can't like how they are building their team. They're doing it through the draft for the most part. I mean, for the most part, they have done Hunt drafted, Carter drafted, Davis drafted, Smith drafted, DeJean drafted, Mitchell drafted, Blankenship was
undrafted
free agent, but they signed him and he's only been in one team. Makuba drafted, Ringo drafted. They got like 10 guys, and then they filled in with these 1-year prove-it deals. So that's the best way you can go about it. Trust the draft picks, and then push them with guys who are on 1-year deals that are trying to get paid,
and then pay all your offensive guys. Allocate all your funds to the offense.
Well, that's what, and the Eagles have been doing. They paid Mailata, they've paid Dickerson, they've paid
A.J. Brown,
the receivers Brown and Smith.
Saquon.
They obviously spent money on Saquon. They spent money on Jalen Carter. I mean Jalen Hurts, and then
Lane Johnson got an extension.
Lane Johnson has been paid over and over and over again. So yeah, the big money has been spent. Now they're going to have to spend big money on Jalen Carter.
Right,
they're going to have to spend big money on Quinyon Mitchell. They're going to have to spend big money on Cooper DeJean at some point too.
All right, slice number 3, sticking with the Eagles. The team is currently surveying season ticket holders about their preferences for upgrading the Link or building a new stadium, potentially with a dome. We heard this kind of a few months ago. There was some rumors about it, but now it's kind of out there with the season ticket holders. They want to have a Super Bowl. They want to host more events, not just football. Are you in favor of this? Is this kind of the start of something bigger coming down the pipe here?
So I have heard about this the possibility. I guess they sent out a survey and listed possible options, right? Like one was a dome, one is a retractable roof, one was
renovations to the link.
Yeah. Well, they want to get a Super Bowl. That's the thing. The renovations to the link would not give you a Super Bowl unless you did something that put some sort of dome structure over top of it, roof thing. I personally don't like a dome stadium. I would not like to see a dome stadium.
So what about the retractable?
I'd be in favor look, I don't think they need a new stadium. I think the link is fine. I mean, I've been to the link. I was there last year. I didn't say, man, this place looks old. This place is beat up. This place needs, it's not like the end of the vet where you were like, this place needs to be redone or torn down. The link has stood the test. They've done a good job of adding the amenities to it.
Is the clock ticking though? Because their lease does expire in 7 years. I did read that.
Well, the thing was built in 04, I think was the first year, or maybe 03.
I think it was 05 actually. It was 03. Let me look it up.
Well, who was first, Lincoln Financial Field or the Phillies? Citizens Bank Park. One was 04, the other one was 05. So you're talking about a stadium that's only 20 years old, right? I mean, it's not like it's that old. I mean, you think about Veterans Stadium.
2003 was the link opened.
Okay, so it's 22 years old. It's not like it doesn't look like it's 22 years old, does it?
No. But
all of these teams that are just getting in and out of their stadiums that quickly, I would be not in favor for, but it's the way sports are. I don't think they need a new place. I don't really care. I don't go to the games enough for it to bother me, but I don't like the thought of a dome. And, think about the playoff game last year against the Rams. Do you have the roof closed in that snow game?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. That roof is closed.
do they close that dome instead of playing in the snow?
Yeah, they certainly do, yeah.
Then I would be against that. Right?
Well, yes. And the fact that Buffalo is building their new stadium, but they're keeping the
Buffalo's had major
field.
problems where they've had to call the community to come out and shovel for them. They're paying them like $25 an hour.
But they're not building a dome. They're going to continue outside.
The Buffalo Stadium, isn't it retractable?
I'll check on that, but either way, it's not a dome, so.
I thought it was at least a retractable roof in Buffalo.
Well, I mean, Jeffrey Lurie seems committed to it.
He wants to get a Super Bowl here. That's why. He wants to try to get a Super Bowl here, and without a dome or something that would be out of the elements, then the dome thing has to be in play.
The Bills Stadium will not have a retractable roof.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I thought it was at least a retractable roof in Buffalo.
The design includes a canopy kind of over the large portion of the seating area.
That's one of the things they're talking about for the Eagles Stadium, one of the options for the Eagles, right?
Right.
Correct,
So the fans are protected, but the playing field is not.
The playing field is not right.
I like that idea. I would sign up for that one. Cover the fans, keep the playing surface open.
That would not
similar.
That would not get you a Super Bowl, though. I'm pretty sure.
Probably not.
It probably not, because, for example, the L.A. stadium, their retractable roof keeps the canopy there. So then it's just the roof open and the canopy is still over the fans.
I'm sure they could figure something out in today's day and age that would, but I don't think that Lincoln Financial Field really needs to be like Citizens Bank Park. At what point does anybody think like that stadium is, man, that place is getting old. You need to start thinking again. You're getting to the time now where Citizens Bank Park is almost going to be 30 years old. Does it seem like it's 30 years old? Almost?
No. I mean, it seems in good shape. It seems like an average.
And they keep doing a good job of adding things to Citizens Bank Park, like adding food, places, things to do. I mean, they just keep evolving that place over and over and over again. Like, I can't imagine needing a new baseball stadium anytime soon with that place. And I would feel the same way about the football stadium. Does it look like it's wearing out, beat up? I watched there was a thing on NBC Philadelphia recently. It was on YouTube about the final years of Veterans Stadium, and that place was just a complete disaster at the end.
Well, when you go to a game, what are you looking for, to rate it a high score? Good good parking, concessions, fans, friendliness of the fans, everything.
Well, I mean, the one of the problems with the Philadelphia sports complex is getting in and out of there. It's been a nightmare.
Right.
They have not figured out how to get the people in and out of that in a good fashion. Like to park your car and to then leave the place, it's like a 2-hour process to park and then to try to get out of that place.
Like you're committing a huge chunk of your life to going to a game because it's such an exhaustive process getting in and out.
Yeah, they've got to do a much better job of getting you in and out of there. And once you're there, I think the bathrooms at the link probably need be a little bit bigger. I mean, back in the day, 20 years ago, you probably need to add more bathrooms and stuff. I feel like though there's plenty of food options and plenty of tailgating options out there.
Yeah, I think number one is the parking and having to sit in your car for an hour after the game just to get out of there.
That's the biggest problem for all the Philly sports teams. You go to a Sixer game, getting in and out of there is ridiculous. I mean, it's just crazy to me that they cannot figure out how to better direct the traffic to make it more plausible to get out of there. I think one of the big problems, if you're going to Jersey, they close some of the gates so that you can't get out of there. They make you go out to the PA side.
Yeah.
And it's like, you should look, if you're going to Jersey, you go this way. If you're going to PA, you're going this way. Try to streamline it to where, it's easy to kind of go which direction you're heading. They close off all the sides of the gate so you can only go out the other side. It's ridiculous. Getting in and out of that place is such a nightmare.
All right, moving on to the Phillies. Is there a player out there with the deadline coming up next week that you're willing to get into a bidding war for? Out of all the names that have been mentioned, Stephen Kwan, Robert, Suarez, is there a guy that you are willing to enter a bidding war for his services?
It's a good question. A bidding war, what are you saying? They want Painter? I have to go to that. Painter and Miller are pretty much. I think, I don't know.
Basically, Suarez, where he's got 9 teams interested in him. A bidding war is obviously going to happen in the next 7 days or so. Are you willing to?
I am starting to get, intrigued by the thought of having Suarez hit 4th in this lineup.
I like the idea of Suarez as a hitter. I'm just confused about exactly what they're going to do in the field because, okay, yes, you could use Suarez at 3rd. You put Bohm at 1st. I mean, is Harper has to play the outfield in 2-3 years? Mm-hmm. Now you're asking a guy to, use a whole set of skills he hasn't used in a while.
I think he'll be fine. I think Harper can handle catching a fly ball.
Well, that's not my question. My question is, we saw what happened last year. Schwarber didn't play the outfield for 2 months. He runs down a ball in the left field and he strains a muscle in his leg. Harper, is he ready for that? That's what I'm saying.
That part of it, he's running for balls in the outfield as opposed to, running for a pop-up in
shuffling
the infield
his
or whatever. I think for 2 months he'd be fine doing it. And he said before, I would go to the outfield if they went out and got a guy like Pete Alonso. Well, right now, would you say that Suarez is the next closest thing to what Pete Alonso is bringing the Mets? He's a guy right now that's 35 home runs or more.
If I can spin this back to both of you guys, we know the reporting is out there that the Phillies – They really want players who are controllable beyond this year. Suarez is a guy who's not controllable beyond this year. So does that change the conversation for you guys, knowing that guy's a free agent, about what you're willing to give up? It has to be part of this conversation, right?
It does. For me, it does. But at the end of the day, this is the window. I mean, this is the year for them. They got a lot of guys coming up with their contracts with Schwarber and Suarez. They got a lot of hard decisions to make.
Well,
for me, this is the year.
This is the scenario that I would ask. Could the Phillies be working on a trade to move Bohm at the same time? And then you get Suarez and almost trade Suarez for Bohm. Hey, Arizona, you get a controllable third baseman. Right. We'll trade you Bohm. You can have him. He's under control for the next year or two. He can play third base for you at a cheaper price. We'll take him, and we'll also throw you Mick Abel or something to that effect.
I would do that.
And then,
I'd be okay with that.
Then you have Suarez playing third, Harper
stays at first.
Can stay at first base.
And you keep Castellanos.
Begrudgingly, but
begrudgingly,
I guess so.
right.
I mean, or what you could do is try to move Castellanos and then put Harper in right field, a position that he has played before. Because the other scenario is if you bring Suarez in and don't trade Bohm, you would essentially be moving Harper to left field, which he has not played as much left field. Not that I think it matters for a guy like Bryce Harper. I mean, look, he's played the outfield. He can play left or right field. He has played center field in his career as well when he was in Washington. So, yeah, there's a lot that could all be tied.
The only downside is your outfield still has massive holes in it.
It does, and that's kind of where it's like, what is more important? Is it getting a guy to replace Bohm or getting someone to add to the outfield?
Well, here's one for you. I mean, I just said it kind of as I said it out loud. Bryce Harper has probably played more center field than he has left field. That would be my guess. I mean, we could look it up. I don't know that wholeheartedly, but he's probably played more center than he has left field. So how about if you said to Bryce, now he wasn't a great center fielder.
I don't like that idea only because the center fielder's job is to cover up for the flaws of the guys.
Okay, I was wrong. He has played, about the same. 190 games in left, 185 games in center, and 923 games he has been a right fielder. He has played 251 games at first base. So he has played 5 more games in left than he has center. So if you're the Phillies, now listen, I wouldn't think at this stage of his career that you want him playing center field. You would say you're going to go play either left field or right field. But I don't think you would want to move Castellanos from right field to left field. You would keep Castellanos in right, and you would have Harper go play
He's
left.
bad enough at one position. I don't need him to try to figure out another one.
No. So I would think if you're moving Bryce Harper to the outfield, it would be to play left field.
All right. We got time for a couple more slices here. With the Phillies, though, is Dombrowski on the hot seat? I mean, is this the year for him? A make-or-break year at the trade deadline and whatever they do in the postseason. Is he on the hot seat, and should he be?
I don't think Dombrowski's on the hot seat, one. Should he be? You can make an argument that he should be, that this is like the third or fourth incarnation of this team, that he didn't upgrade enough, that you're constantly still looking for ways to fix it.
And the third failed deadline, it would be.
If they don't end up doing anything here, right. But I don't think he's on the hot seat because, look, the guy's at this stage of his career where you're not going to get fired. Do we agree on that or no?
I don't think Dombrowski's getting fired purely because just the way that John Middleton talks about it.
Right. I think if anything would be Middleton would say, hey, we're going to promote you to some other job where he's not going to be like
remember
you're not
Pat Gillick.
with Yeah, like he would be promoted.
He's
to
a Bobby
the
Clark,
next level.
Pat Gillick type guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it would not be where he is fired and not in the organization. Now, he might retire.
Right, removed.
Say, yeah. No, I don't think he would be removed. They wouldn't, like,
because remember, he only came to Philadelphia after he was trying to get that team to go to Tennessee. Remember, they were trying to get a baseball team in Tennessee, and he was like, yeah, I left my side project to come help with the Phillies organization. He kind of made it like they coaxed him off the beach or something.
For me, though, there comes a point where one Max Kepler is too many. I mean, if he keeps, again, like you said, he hasn't really improved the team. They continue to run back the same group of guys.
So what's a move? Like Dave Dombrowski, I think the decisions that he has made this offseason have really been detrimental to the team's ability to go to the World Series because he did nothing to help this team at all. It's pretty unbelievable that they're actually in play for first place considering they basically made no move in the offseason.
Well, it shows you how great their pitching and Kyle Schwarber have been. They basically have had 3-4 guys who have played well this year, whereas the other 22 have been meh.
Yeah.
All right, one more slice here. We mentioned Hulk Hogan passing away yesterday. For me, he was on my Mount Rushmore growing up in the 90s. Him,
wow.
Mike, I texted this to you yesterday. Him, Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, and I'll throw Dan Marino on there. Those are my 4 guys growing up in the 90s for me. What do you guys have here on your Mount Rushmore in the 90s?
Well, see, for me, Hogan's more 80s. Well, you're 90s, so you're saying NWO Hogan.
Well, later, but like early 90s, Hulkamania.
So are you a Hulkamania Hogan or are you a Hollywood Hogan?
For me, it's hard to really quantify that because the heel turn from moving over from WWE to WCW was just all time. But I would say Hulkamania.
So you go red and yellow.
Yes, real life superhero. Yep.
See, I'm even though I when I was younger, I didn't really like Hulkamania that much. I was much more into NWO because it was just so insane, like the things they were doing.
So you guys are like a decade behind me, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I grew up in the Hogan, like, Saturday morning
Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, well, the Saturday morning, like, WWE, when, like, he would fight,
Hogan and
wrestle,
Giant, yeah.
Right, well, he would wrestle, like, some jabroni out of the crowd.
Right.
Then Hillbilly Jim came in, and that's, like, like, that kind of stuff. He only wrestled the big guys at, like, the pay-per-views. But it wasn't like it is now where, like, they actually had real matches on, like, Raw. But then I didn't really watch the WCW. So I knew NWO and all that stuff, but I didn't watch WCW. So I wasn't really invested into the whole heel turn. But Mike Tyson, to me, is also 80s.
Tyson's definitely 80s.
Yeah.
To me, 90s is like Ken Griffey
Okay,
Jr.
late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
I mean, Jordan. He's early 90s.
Griffey Jr.
Griffey Jr., Upper Deck card number 1.
There you go.
It's a big one. That's Pete's Pizza for
That's
today.
my pizza for the day.
And that is brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. 5 slices for the Nuggets. Knicks Nuggets are brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, when we come back, Phil's getting ready for the Yankees tonight. A lot of rumors out there. We'll go through all the rumors. We brought it up with Bob Wankel
10
earlier.
seconds.
Which ones passed the smell test? Which ones do we like? Let us know which name that has been rumored
5,
you like the best.
4,
Text in
3,
609-403-0973.
Yo, yo, yo. Two and a half minutes. Two minutes. One minute. $30. $10.
All right, 5 o'clock hour Sports Bash live today at the Tropicana Atlantic City showroom for the Boxing Insider Promotion card tonight right here at Tropicana. It starts at 7 o'clock. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com and here at the Tropicana box office. We've had a lot of people stopping by asking for the tickets at the box office. You can come up the escalator to see us. We are right at the top of the escalator outside the ballroom. And the fighters are starting. Just saw the championship belt there, Josh.
Yeah, I should have taken it, but I definitely don't qualify for the flyweight title, though.
Junior flyweight.
Yeah, when was the last time you were 110 pounds?
7 years old.
I was about 12.
Maybe not 7. Maybe 9?
I was like 12 was the last time.
I don't know. I was the guy when I played football when there was a weight limit, I had to get on the scale every single time.
Really?
Because I'd be running around in a trash bag before the game started, and they would make me take off everything, and I have to get on the scale. And I just would make the weight. So that was every single level: varsity, JV, Pee Wee.
I know it's hard to believe, but I used to be the tiniest kid in the world. I used to be super, super, super skinny, and I got tired of being skinny, and I started lifting weights.
Good for you, man. That's
But yeah,
great.
so it's the WBC U.S. Silver Junior Flyweight title on the line. So it's the Andy Dominguez. He's from the Bronx, taking on veteran Nicaraguan fighter Byron Rojas for the WBC belt. Also, up-and-coming heavyweight Ronnie Hines taking on Ed Fountain tonight. Absegami High School's Bruce Selden Jr. will look to extend his undefeated streak against Alexis Soriano Tavares tonight. Up-and-coming fighter Dayon Butt. He's 20-2, Mike. He will be taking on Alex Martin. He's from, by the way, Temple graduate. Dayon Butt as well. And Julio Sanchez III from Pleasantville will be taking on Alexander Stone tonight. And also from Harlem, New York, Armando Barbera taking on Ricardo Jimenez. All tonight. The fights start at 7 p.m. Is when you start getting in. It'll all be streaming on the Zone. But you got to be here to watch it. Don't just watch it at home, Mike. You got to be in the house.
Yeah, and obviously I got to the Trop around 1:30 today before the show, and you could feel the energy. Fight night's energy's awesome. You could feel the quarter was just filling up. People coming through here wanting to start the night a little early. The fights all start at 7. By the way, this hour of the show is brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. The summer clearance event is on now at Whitehorse RV Center. Whitehorse RV, your RV adventure starts here. Whitehorse RV, Williamstown, and Galloway. All right, so there's a lot of stuff. We are less than a week to the deadline here, okay? So I want to try to, make some sense of some of the names that were here. We had Bob Wankel on earlier today. He talked about which of these rumors are starting to pass the smell test. And he said that he is starting to get the vibes and the feeling that something major is about to happen, right? Something big's about to happen with all the names. So I think of all the names that I'm hearing, Suarez is the one that I have some of the most interest in at this point. He is the right-handed bat, 35 plus. I think he's up to over 35 home runs at this point. The last time I checked, he had 35 home runs.
Yeah.
His bat would be the right-handed bat that this team has lacked for the last 3 seasons. He would be the guy that could hit fourth and then push everybody back one in the spot. You can have him hit fourth, and then possibly Bohm hit fifth, and Castellanos hit sixth, and Real Muto hit seventh, and then whatever you want to do at the 8-9, depending on if you have platoons or whoever's playing there. But right now, Suarez, who has 36 home runs, 252 with 325 on base percentage, 593 slug, which is very good, a 918 OPS. He could come in and play third base. The question would be, if you got him to play third base, what happens to Bohm? And I can hear most people out there saying, I don't give a crap what happens to Bohm. Bohm's not just going to sit and rot away on the bench.
Right.
So he would probably have to go play first base. And then the question would be, well, what happens to Harper? Harper would most likely have to go play left field. Is that a suitable arrangement? Now, the other scenario that I threw out there could be you could use Bohm in a deal to get Suarez. In other words, Suarez plays third, so does Bohm. You call Arizona and say, hey, we'll take the free agent. We'll give you Bohm, who has time left on the contract, and now you can have a third baseman for the next couple of seasons.
I mean, I'm not against the trading of Bohm. That's why I mentioned him in my 97.3 ESPN.com article last week, Mike, because he has been rumored. They have considered trading him before, and for a guy who was the third overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft, it really seems like this is his cap, right? Like he is what he is at this point.
It is. And listen, Bohm, I don't, I've been a guy who's, not dislike Bohm in terms of he just doesn't have enough power for this team. He's just not a great fit for this team. He's just not a good fit for this lineup as a right-handed bat unless they got a Suarez. The problem is they both play the same position. Bohm has been miscasted as a middle-of-the-order hitter. He should be hitting sixth. But on this team, he has to bat fourth. So he just does not fit here because the team does not have enough power to have the luxury of a Bohm. Bohm is a guy who hits well with runners in scoring position. So in other words, if he was hitting sixth and your 3, 4, 5 guys are on base. Maybe the third guy gets on, the fourth guy strikes out, the fifth guy is on, you have 2 on, and here comes Bohm.
Right.
All right, that's fine. But the problem is Bohm hitting in the middle of the lineup where you need a little bit more muscle and the ability to hit the ball over the fence. They don't have it. So that would be a spot. So Suarez jumps to the top of my list. Now, what do I have to give up to get him? He is a free agent, so maybe I don't have to give up as much. Am I willing to give up Mick Abel? Yes. Am I willing to give up Justin Crawford? I think the answer to that would be yes.
I mean, again, you're getting
a Justin. Sorry to cut you off. A Justin Crawford trade is we are going in all in to win this World Series right now,
correct.
And I'll worry about what Justin Crawford becomes. But here's the thing: Justin Crawford is never going to be a guy that's going to hit for power. So you are moving on from a guy who is basically a high batting average, high on base guy, which is very valuable. But are you more interested in winning the World Series right now with this core, or what Justin Crawford can give you 2, 3, 4 years down the road, maybe even help this team now and possibly be the starting center fielder on next year's team? It's a tough one to kind of balance here. It is definitely a tough one to balance. There is no right or wrong answer. The only thing you know is you are getting a known quantity in Suarez versus an unknown quantity in Crawford. So do the Phillies have to say this window is closing, the sand is going through the hourglass here, we have to do something for this team now. Be damned what happens with next year's team.
And guess what? You know, when you talk about these prospects, we've brought them numerous times. When the Phillies made their runs in 08, 09, 10, and 11, they traded a ton of their prospects, and really only 2 of them actually became legitimate big league players. So there's no guarantee that Crawford, Miller, Escobar, Taillon, any of these guys are going to be anything at the major league level.
Guys, got some text messages here. So if you have a text message on the Phillies trade deadline right now, of all the names that you're hearing, do any of them stand out as the one that you think the Phillies should go get? Got one here. It says, hey, guys, have you ever heard the rumor that the Phillies might trade for O'Neal Cruz? I think it would be a great pickup. He's still young, 26 years old, great center fielder, and was in the All-Star game. I would absolutely love it and wouldn't mind giving up Mick Abel and Max Kepler. Well, Max Kepler's not getting involved in that deal. But I would say, let's answer these things here, okay?
Yeah.
Have I heard the rumor about O'Neal Cruz? I have. Do I put a lot of credibility and stock in it? At this stage, anything's possible. I think he's 27 years old. Not that that's a big difference over 26. He is not a great center fielder. He is a helter-skelter center fielder.
Correct.
He reminds me a lot of Odubel Herrera playing center field.
Great analogy.
Athletic
Herrera
guy was
who's
a
awkward.
second baseman who they moved to center field.
Yep.
O'Neal Cruz is a shortstop who was erratic at shortstop, so they moved him to center field. He is a highlight reel for both the right and wrong reasons. He will make the highlight catch. He'll also make a highlight reel mistake. He is lazy. I don't think he is a bat that really, he's a left-handed bat. I'm kind of out on O'Neal Cruz. I don't, that doesn't do much for me to that text message there. Andrew in Delaware, by the way, he did leave his name, Andrew in Delaware. Andrew, I would be more inclined, honestly, I think I'd rather have Robert.
Oh, come on. Now you're being ridiculous.
You have soured immensely on Robert, and I wasn't a big Robert guy, but he can mash left-handed pitching.
Congratulations. He can play 1/3 of the games.
Hey.
If that.
Right, but you're the one. Are you not the same guy who was mentioned before? If I can improve my team, even if it's part of the platoon, 1/3 of the games, his right-handed bat is significantly better than what you're getting from Johan Rojas.
Totally understand that, but I will just say he's never healthy. So
he's healthy right now.
Well, yeah, until he gets to Philadelphia, the city of everybody else getting injured.
I can't base my decision on a healthy guy being healthy right now and then assume he's going to get hurt in the process. If he's healthy right now, and by the way, he has played extremely well over a much longer period of time, number one. Number two, he is exactly what the Phillies lack, a guy who can hit left-handed pitching, a right-handed bat.
So what are you giving up for him?
Not a lot. That's what I would have said. I would take a flyer on him. And now, flyer, I'm not saying I'm giving you a single-leg pitcher. I'm talking about I would be interested in giving you the Phillies top 30. The newest top 30 just came out.
Correct.
Let me pull that up for you here, okay? This just came out from Baseball America today.
Yeah.
I would go to, let's see.
Well, while you do that, let's play the audio from Bob Nightingale. He was on the Wandy New York Mets podcast on YouTube, and he was asked about Luis Robert because obviously Met fans would love to get Luis Robert, and Nightingale specifically spoke about the Phillies, what kind of interest they have in Luis Robert Jr. Here is longtime MLB insider Bob Nightingale.
The Phillies aren't sold on him. They think he's okay. I can see him mulling more with the Phillies. They're not crazy. They made some bad moves. I mean, when they signed Max Kepler, everybody in Minnesota laughed like, you're kidding me. He's going to have a terrible season. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked. So they're lukewarm on Luis Robert. And they're right up against the luxury tax, too, where they already did it with David Robertson. They still want another reliever. So I don't think they want to give up much at all for any center fielder, let alone Robert.
And I feel the same way. I don't want to give up much of anything either. That's my point, is if Chicago is willing to just say, look, it's time for us to move on from this guy. His name keeps coming up in trades every year. No one's interested. We just want to move on now, and we'll take – and now I have the list of the guys that would be in the Phillies' top 30 prospects. I kind of start at the bottom here instead of work my way up. And I say, hey, are you interested in, wherever. Start at the bottom and work your way up. How far up the list do you go? I mean.
Well, the first thing you got to look at is pitchers because they just drafted a gazillion pitchers. So there's always going to be pitchers on these lists that you got to look at and say, okay, maybe the Phillies are going to be, like, for example, Alex McFarland is a guy that I've heard a lot of insiders talk about. A lot of the guys at The Athletic, like Matt Gelb and Ken Rosenthal, have said there's a lot of scouts who are scouting Alex McFarland, who is coming back from Tommy John surgery. Is Alex McFarland, who people think is a future closer, Mike, is that a guy you would be like, all right, I'll give him up?
It's one of those things now where you're like, listen, I know he might be good 4 years down the road, but I need to do something for this team right now. You just have to swallow that up. It's almost like, you traded Ben Brown for David Robertson.
Yeah.
This is a little different. Robertson was a veteran player at that time. But I think you're saying, because Ben Brown turned out to be a major leaguer somewhat. I think he's been
He's
up and
a
down.
solid pitcher for the club's rotation.
Right, but when you traded Ben Brown back then, you had no
He was a
inclination
25th pick,
that
prospect, I'm sorry.
You had no thought that he was ever going to be a big league pitcher. You're kind of like, fine, take this guy. That's kind of where I'm with Robert, but a little bit better level of a prospect than that. Look, versus left-handed pitching, 294, 422 on base percentage. I mean, he is way better than any option you have against left-handed pitching. Way better. And that's with him hitting 179 against righties. I mean, so I think if you're saying, man, how can we just get better a little bit? Can I play Luis Robert in center field? By the way, he's a much better center fielder than O'Neal Cruz is.
He's a much better outfielder than almost everybody the Phillies have.
Can I play him in center field against left-handed pitching, and I can play Brandon Marsh the other days? I don't love that scenario, but it's better than playing Brandon Marsh some days and Johan Rojas the other days.
So for those, just to make the analogy, you mentioned Ben Brown. He was the 25th ranked Phillies prospect when they traded him for Dave Roberts. Right now, Alex McFarland, according to the latest rankings, is 21st.
So that would be fair.
So that's comparable for you.
That would be fair. Yeah, I mean, McFarland, 21. I said a little bit better prospect than what Ben Brown was, and that's 4 slots up. I don't think they give up Matthew Fisher. They just drafted him, so I think McFarland would be in the realm. Would be in the realm.
The one name, I don't know if I would trade for Luis Robert, but the name that's also been bountied about by a lot of people is Moise Chance. So for those who don't remember, he was one of the guys you got from the Orioles.
Baltimore, right?
Okay, so he's a guy a lot of teams
He was in the Soto deal.
Correct.
Who ironically got traded today.
Just got traded today, right.
Yeah.
But the point is that Chance, him and Seth Johnson were 2 of the guys you got from the Soto deal. But he's the 10th prospect. Is that a little too rich?
Probably. He had Tommy John surgery, right? He's out.
Oh, he's out now?
I believe so, yeah. Well, he missed this whole season.
Well, he's back this year.
I think he had Tommy John and has missed this season, right? He had Tommy John at the end of last year. I can't see that far, but yeah. So he is done. He has not pitched this year.
Okay, so he's done for this year. Got it.
Yeah. Seth Johnson, now he is the number 11 prospect on your list. I would be willing to say if you want Seth Johnson, you can have him. Like if you view him,
right?
Well, seriously, like if you view him as a starter, because that's what he was.
He was a
He
starter.
was in the same trade.
Correct. He was a starter.
Right. So that's my point is if Chicago views Seth Johnson as a starter and says we'd be interested in him, he's prospect number 11. I would be willing to go up to that level of prospect to say, hey, do you want Seth Johnson? You can have him. We'll take, by the way, the last 30 days, Lewis Roberts hitting .351 with a .442 on base percentage. In the last 15 days, he's hitting .375 with a .459. And this last week, he's hitting .444 with a .545 on base percentage. He might just be kind of figuring out his role in this lousy lineup and saying, I need to get the heck out of here. I got to get focused. Otherwise, if I really want to get traded, I better start focusing up here. Now, that being said, again, I'm not giving up to Burkholder is probably the cutoff for me.
Saying Burkholder, for those who don't know, Burkholder is currently ranked the 8th prospect.
Yeah, Gabriel Rincon, as I'd give you.
So you're saying, so for example, so just to give the audience listening on 97.3 ESPN, so Gabriel Rincones is the 9th ranked prospect. Seth Johnson is the number 11. Dante Nori, he's an outfielder. He's the 13th. You got Gene Cabrera. He's a guy who's been rumored. He's the 15th ranked prospect. So you're saying those are the kind of guys you're like, you know what, Luis Robert, I'll give you these guys for him.
Probably. Yep, I think so. I mean, listen, and the sad part is I think Lewis Robert on this team is probably a platoon player, but he's a better platoon. And theoretically, listen, if you could play him in center field, he'd be a much better center fielder, and you could probably play him some days against right-handed pitching. So you can almost platoon the guys, Marsh and Kemp in left field. It allows you to get rid of Kepler. Theoretically, you could then have Robert platoon with Crawford.
Correct.
And have Crawford. Now, I think the Phillies, if they call up Crawford, they want him to play every day. But theoretically, if you wanted to not have him get exposed to left-handed pitching right off the bat, you could say, hey, when you get up for half the season here, for the last 60 games, all you have to worry about is hitting against right-handed pitching. Don't worry about lefties right now, and we'll work with you in spring training, even though he's hitting over 400 against left-handed pitching, and then Robert is the center fielder. And now you have two very good defensive outfielders.
Yeah, your defense gets immensely better. I was just going to look up how much has Luis Robert played left field as well. Because if you want to keep Crawford in center, can Robert play left? Robert has never played left field at the major league level.
No,
he's only played center
and
field.
And he's a gold glove center fielder.
So what I'm saying is it something where you tell Crawford to go to left?
Crawford can play left field. Yes, he could do that. I'm just saying you could have Robert play center if you want to say, listen, Robert can't hit right-handed pitching. He stinks. Right. He's hitting 180 against.
Would you allow Robert Jr. to be your everyday center fielder even though he has struggled against right-handed pitching?
I would give him the opportunity to hit against right-handed pitching here because of who's around him.
Okay.
Right? I mean, right now in Chicago, this is one of the problems with him too. This year, he has hit second 69 times. He has hit third 47 times. He has hit fourth 47 times. He has hit fifth 46 times. He's hit sixth 49 times. He hits at a different position in the lineup every single day. And by the way, none of them is any good. Batting six has been his best spot. Well, he's hitting .367 in the six hole with a .436 on base, a OPS of over 1, and that is in 49 games. So he has had his most success in the six hole. Now here, with the power that he displayed a couple of years ago, which he is not showing since,
right?
Would you hit him number 4 behind Harper? I don't think so. I don't think you would put that much pressure on him.
Really quick before we wrap this up, I want to bring this full circle. If you got Suarez and Robert Jr. both at the deadline, is that enough?
Now you're cooking with gas.
Okay, so now you're saying, okay, those are the kind of players that we can get excited about.
Well, because then you can hit Suarez. You can hit Suarez 4, and you can hit Robert 6. right where he's been hitting his best in Chicago,
Right.
would be him hitting in the 6th.
So then your lineup, let's say, with all the scenarios we've thrown out there, your lineup is Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Suarez, and then
no, it would be Turner, Schwarber, Harper. Oh yeah, Schwarber, Harper, Suarez, 4.
Suarez 4.
Correct.
And then who's 5?
Well, it depends. Is Bohm still here? Bohm would hit 5.
Would Castellanos be 5 in the scenario?
No, I would hit Castellanos. In that scenario with Robert here, I would hit Castellanos 7th.
Behind Robert.
Behind Robert.
Got it. By the way, for anyone who's wondering, Max Kepler gets DFA'd in all these scenarios.
Yes. Robbie from Little Lake Harbor says Phillies have to do something before the trade deadline ends. Robbie, you win the award for the most obvious statement of the day.
Thanks, buddy.
I like it. I like it, Robbie, though. Appreciate it. Keep them coming. 609-403-0973. Yeah, I would do Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Suarez.
Right.
Then probably Bohm, Robert, Castellanos, Real Muto, and then whoever's playing second base that night. And now a lot of your platoons are kind of out the door. All right, this hour of the show, it is brought to you by our friends over at White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. Summer clearance event is on now at White Horse RV Center. White Horse RV, your RV adventure starts here. White Horse RV, Williamstown and Galloway. We are live at the Tropicana, Atlantic City, at the showroom where tonight's Boxing Insider promotion returns for an action-packed fight card right here inside the showroom. The bout starts at 7 o'clock tonight. I saw Jimmy Kurtz in the house. That's when I know there's a big-time boxing match in Atlantic City. I'm sure he's here with Bruce Selden Jr.
You would be correct.
Who is on the card tonight right here at the Tropicana. The box office is open for your tickets. We'll see you at 7 o'clock right here at the Trop. I am Mike Gill, and this is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, Heidi Watney from Apple TV Plus. She'll be on the sideline of tonight's Phillies-Yankees game, and she's going to be talking to 2 big players in this game. Find out who they are coming up next.
What up? Solid. Also, I have one on odd. Does that need to be changed or is that good? I have odd plugged in on 1. Should that be on or off? Or odd is on for 1. Should that be on or off? All right, that's what I thought.
Here, both of these teams have World Series aspirations. It's Friday night baseball, a doubleheader on Apple TV Plus. Heidi Watney will be on the sideline for this game and gets an opportunity to really catch up with all the big stars and the big storylines. We are about to check in with her right now on this high-profile matchup on the Friday night baseball game on Apple TV Plus as Heidi Watney joins me right now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Welcome, Heidi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. It's boy, do you get a better one than this one here? Phillies and Yankees for a Friday night for you guys out there. I mean, two star-studded teams. When you think of stars, you think of New York generally, but how does Philadelphia Stars stack up against the Yankees?
Oh, I love Philly's team. I mean, not only are they full of a bunch of superstars, they're full of a bunch of good guys that really gel together. They have a great cohesive unit. And, I mean, there's plenty of star power in this lineup, as we see from just about every All-Star game the last couple of years.
You look at tonight, right? It's a July 25th game. Does it feel like an October type of game, though, with the way this season's going, the way the division standings are in the NL East and the AL East? Does this series, as you kind of prepare and get ready for it, feel a little October-ish?
Yeah, it feels not only a little Octoberish, it feels like it could be a little World Series preview-ish. We had Yankees-Dodgers at the end of May as well, and that had a similar hype and feeling. Just going into the matchup, you're thinking, like, this is what we're going to see, what we want to see in the World Series. I know the Phillies came just short last year, but they certainly have the talent to get there. Their starting rotation, their offense is great. They're coming together, they're clicking. And you know what they're going to do with the trade deadline. I expect them to add a reliever, but I really think that this Phillies team, they have the talent to go very far, very deep if they can stay healthy, which is, you know, every team's if they can stay healthy. But this is a great group. It's a talented bunch.
Heidi Watney's with us. She'll be on the sideline tonight for the Phillies and the Yankees. Apple TV Plus has Game 1. Taijuan Walker and Will Warren are the starters for the game tonight. And you just mentioned everybody needs help. Everybody needs something. The Yankees and Phillies, no different. How does, 1 week from the trade deadline, you're going to be talking to some of these players tonight, and they're all kind of on edge about what are we adding, what are we doing, about how these teams can kind of change from tonight to maybe the next time you see them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mostly when you're looking at teams like the Phillies and Yankees, most of the guys are going to be excited about what their team's going to do, right? Like, we're going to go and get a little piece, and the Yankees obviously need a third baseman with everything that's happened in the last month with them releasing DJ LeMahieu and moving Jazz Chisholm back over to second, which is a better move for them overall. And heck, maybe Geno Suarez maybe the D-backs will ship another guy out today like they did yesterday, sending Josh Naylor to the Mariners. But, yeah, I know Yankee fans would absolutely love that. But I think most of the team is excited, but there are some of the guys, like, in Philly, the guys in the outfield have to be wondering, are they going to go get a guy who's going to replace me? I mean, so there's a little bit of that, unease amongst the clubs, especially a club like the Phillies, where, every time I've been around them, you see how tight-knit of a group they are. And that's really fun to see when you cover a team. These guys are all pulling on the same rope. Rob Thompson has them. It's good vibes over there, and I love the teams that I cover that are like that. The Dodgers are similarly like that, where you just get the sense that everyone really is a great cohesive unit. So the trade deadline can be kind of unnerving for teams like that.
You get a chance on these Friday nights, Heidi, to check out all the biggest names in the game. Is there any name bigger than Aaron Judge? Is when you see Judge in the Yankees, does he resonate a little differently?
Absolutely, especially with what he's done lately. I mean, setting a new AL home run record in the MVP, unanimous MVP next year. He's, the front runner for it this year. And he's doing it in the biggest market. His at-bat per home runs, no one has done it better in the history of the game except Mark McGwire. He just has, and then he's massive. He's like 6'8". He's built like a tight end. He's out there. He is a presence, and he is one of the nicest guys to be around, which is also really cool. And he's the captain of the New York Yankees. So, no, you don't get much bigger than him. But Bryce Harper carries a similar gravitas, especially in Philly. But even for the game, I mean, and we are lucky on Friday Night Baseball tonight, we get to sit down with both of them. I get to sit down with both of them before the game and talk to Judge, talk to Harper. That'll be in our pregame show, which will start at 6:30 Eastern tonight. And I'm looking forward to that because both of them are great players. Both of them are great guys. And they both are great. I love talking to Bryce about, when he switched to first base and going in depth about the work he was doing. And, he loves to really talk about that. And he's really open and honest about what he does to work on his game. And then Judge is just, one of the faces of the game. So we talked to him about all the records that he's smashing along the way. And he's so humble. He will never talk about himself like being the best in the game. I'm looking forward to asking him about Barry Bonds next. I know he grew up watching Bonds. He grew up just outside the Bay Area in Linden, California, and Bonds was one of the players he idolized, and he's getting that treatment. He's being compared to him, except Judge doesn't have the steroids taint on him. So it's just really special. It's a special matchup tonight with these two teams. It should be a good one. Interesting pitching matchup. Not exactly their aces on either side, but hey, we might get to see a lot of fireworks here in the Bronx tonight.
Yeah, and by the way, Heidi Watney is our guest here. Apple TV Plus coverage begins at 6:30. It will be the Phillies and the Yankees. Wayne Randazzo and Dontrell Willis on the call. Heidi on the sideline. You mentioned you're going to talk to Harper and Judge in the pregame. But where does Kyle Schwarber kind of fit into this? He is almost becoming a larger-than-life, and the whole fact of his contract's coming up, he's the All-Star Game MVP. He's almost becoming a guy who's like, hey, don't forget about me over here.
Oh, we haven't forgotten about him. In fact, I talked to Kyle Schwarber just last month when we had Mets and Phillies in Philadelphia. He's one of my favorite guys, too. Just an absolute awesome dude. To go 3 for 3 on the home run swing-off at the All-Star Game, which I bet these players didn't even know that was the rule because, the rules are constant. It's an all-star game. It's a showcase event. But dude just got up there and went yard, 3 for 3. He's on pace for 54 homers this season. He'd be just the second Phillies player ever to eclipse 50 in a season. And you're right. He's been that steadfast guy, probably the most important hitter on the team. And he really takes his craft as being a DH so well. He knows he has one job, and he studies it, and he does it well. And another guy who, there couldn't be a nicer guy. I would imagine the Phillies want to re-sign him. He's not slowing down at all. But you've got him and Real Muto, your two big guys, huge impact guys on this team that are big free agents. So I know Dombrowski's going to be going all in at this trade deadline.
Yeah, and listen, you have the Friday night game tonight, as you mentioned, the pitching matchup. It's not that high-profile one, but you just mentioned Schwarber and Real Muto. The Phillies are known for their pitching. This is what's kind of carried them to first place. They also have another free agent who's going to pitch tomorrow afternoon, and that's Ranger Suarez. And the pitching has really been the story for the Phillies. And as you kind of hinted at before, they need bullpen help. But, man, their starting pitching is probably, if not the best, one of the top 3 rotations in baseball. And that's kind of been the story of the first half for them. We're trying to see if their pitching can hold up in the second half of the season.
Oh, yeah. Their starters, they rank 3rd, I think, in starter ERA right now in all of baseball, not just in the National League. They're going to get some relief help, I'm sure of it, but they're also going to get Nola back. And you know what you're going to get from him, right? But I think his numbers early in the season are related to just health and injuries. And, he's a guy who never hit, he was never hurt previously prior to this year. And I think that they're slow playing him for a reason. They know they need him back and they need him healthy. And if he is back and healthy and the Nola that they know, they're going to be even better because there's going to be some regression with some of these guys that have had a lot of innings on them. Like you mentioned, Ranger Suarez. But Taijuan Walker, he's been good for you guys this year, for the Phillies this year. Being able to move between starter and relief and just being a solid guy. We had him for our last game. He actually threw a bullpen that afternoon, not expecting it all to be in the game, but then he was thrown into it when the starter just didn't have it that day. And he went, I think, 5 shutout that night, that Friday night at the end of June. So he's been really solid for the team. I'm interested to see what we see from him at Yankee Stadium tonight. this place. Judge has, I think, 4 or 5 home runs off of Walker. And we're in Yankee Stadium. It's going to be a tough one for him here tonight. But I expect the starting rotation to continue to carry the Phillies, especially with Nola.
I can tell you this, Heidi. Anytime, and listen, Taijuan has been in a tough spot. He signed for a lot of money, so the fans in Philly are tough on him because the $18 million a year. When you sign those big deals, the expectations. But the Phillies have kind of yo-yoed him back and forth, so they haven't done him any favors. But you're right. In these little spot starts, he has done a good job filling in because, the Phillies have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings. Mick Abel has come up. He has flashed at times. But you're right about Aaron Nola. What will this team look like when Nola's back? Will they be able to find a bullpen arm? But really, the big story between these two teams is who makes that big move, because it seems that all of the teams that you have seen all season long, everybody is trying to improve because there is so much uncertainty at these teams at the top. And I don't think any of them want to go in as currently constructed.
Well, it's funny. They were saying with the Dodgers that Andrew Friedman built that team to be deadline proof so they wouldn't have to give up prospects at the trade deadline. And they've gone through so much starting pitching. It's just insane this year. Every team's looking to improve. Pretty much every team can use a reliever, but for the Phillies, that's their biggest need, right? I mean, maybe some more, like another outfield bat, but like they're okay offensively. Not okay. They're more than okay offensively. But for the Yankees, really, it's going to be third base, and they could use another starter. I mean, their starting pitching depth has been tested this year. They lose Garrett Cole before the season even starts. Clark Schmidt goes down to Tommy John surgery. They haven't even seen Luis Gil yet. So while their starting pitching has been good, I expect more regression from the Yankees, and I expect them to really try and go get someone. And that's harder to get, right? Like a frontline guy or even a 2 or 3 starter. At the trade deadline, you're going to have to give up a lot to get something like that. So I think the Phillies are one of the teams that's kind of in the best position because, they could go and get just a solid back end like closer. There's a couple available on the market right now, but they don't really have a whole lot of needs that, if the Yankees don't get a third baseman, they could be in big trouble,
Yeah, absolutely. This time of the year is crazy. By this time next week, these two teams could look different. The trade deadline is on Thursday at 6 o'clock, and, of course, we'll have full coverage here on the Sports Bash. Heidi Watney tonight and the crew over at Apple TV+. Their coverage begins at 6:30 for Friday Night Baseball. You can watch Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV's app. That comes pre-installed on an iPhone. You know I'm the only person that doesn't have an iPhone. I'm an Androider, so I get the green. I have the green text. Yes, I am that guy. I had a whole text chain yesterday of people telling me I need to change my phone. I said, I've had the same phone for 20 years. I'm going to change now. I can't do it, right? I have to stay?
I would kick you out of the group text. Like, no green, no. It just ruins the whole group thread.
Now I'm stubborn. I'm not changing. But if you have an Android, you can get Apple TV Plus as well for Friday Night Baseball tonight. 6:30, and Heidi will be on the sidelines with Dontrell Willis and Wayne Rendazzo on the call for Phillies and the Yankees. She's going to be talking to Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge. Check out that conversation in the pregame. Heidi, we appreciate a couple minutes.
All right, thanks.
All right, Heidi Watney, everybody here. Sidelines for tonight's Apple TV Plus extravaganza. It's a big one. It is the Friday Night Baseball doubleheader on Apple TV. And by the way, they are second to none when it comes to production elements of these games. It is a awesome, well-produced game. They show you so many different angles and everything, and you can check that out. Yes, Android users, you can download the Apple TV app from Google Play and watch on your phone for Friday Night Baseball. Or you can just watch it on your big screen TV, which is what I will be doing tonight for the Phillies and the Yankees. By the way, Yankees 4.5 games behind the Blue Jays in American League East play. We know the Phillies are a half game behind the Metropolitans in National League East play. Join the fun on DraftKings Casino, ranked the #1 online casino experience. They've got everything you've been searching for. Thousands of exciting games, huge jackpots, exclusive offers, and more. New players get a 10-day welcome offer, 500 spins on Huff and More Puff when you play, just $5 to start. Download the DraftKings Casino app, sign up with code DK973 and spin your favorite slots. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 or older, physically present in New Jersey. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable casino spins issued as 50 spins per day for 10 days. Valid for a feature game only and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. It all ends on August 24th of this year at 11:59 p.m. in the East. #1, based on Eilers and Krychek 2 H24 product analysis. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. We are live today over at the Tropicana Showroom. Boxing Tonight returns to Atlantic City. And I got my Bet365 play of the day. It's Happy Hour Friday. I got some picks for you there as well. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And we're getting ready to wrap things up here on the YouTube channel and on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. All right, Josh, I have the Bet365 play of the day we're going to get in here in just a moment here. What else we got? Oh, by the way, we're at the fights tonight. There's a lot going on here. A lot of the fighters and a lot of the people are starting to come in here at the Tropicana showroom, which is where we are, Tropicana, Atlantic City, as Boxing Insider Promotion returns for another action-packed fight night right here at the Trop, featuring a battle for the WBC Silver Junior Flyweight title. And Josh, you got all the particulars, and all the fighters are coming up to Josh. They all know.
I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. So so for those who don't know, so the main event tonight is actually Bronx-born Andy Dominguez taking on Byron Rojas for the WBC U.S. Silver Junior Flyweight title tonight. But also on the card will be Abscami High School graduate Bruce Selden Jr. taking on Alexis Soriano Tavares. The guy you just saw come up to me, Mike, was Dayon Butt. He's the Temple alumni, 20-2 rising star. He's taking on Alex Martin tonight. And then earlier we saw Julio Sanchez III from Pleasantville. He'll be taking on Alexander Stone. Those are just some of the great fights in action. So the doors are opening at 7, I've been told. First bell is at 8 o'clock. Everything will be streaming on DAZN. Tickets are still available, so come on down, get your tickets. Head on in. We had some people win tickets yesterday on the Sports Bash, Mike, but we are excited as this is an action-packed fight card tonight here in the Tropicana Atlantic City showroom.
Yeah, looking forward to the fight nights, Friday nights at the Trop here. You can feel the energy, people walking through all day. I got here at like 1:30 this afternoon, and you saw the place starting to fill up. You know, I come through here every Thursday for the football season, and there's certainly, it's Friday as opposed to Thursday. Hey, good job, Peachy.
Or
was that Alex?
Or is it Alex?
Did Peachy leave?
I don't know. Is anybody running the board back there?
Yeah. All right,
Alex manning the station.
Alex is in charge.
There he is.
So for those of you listening, Josh is on
Peachy's still here,
with
though.
me, which is rare, by the way. So Josh is usually on the other side. So this is this is definitely interesting to see somebody else on the other side of the board. But we're making it work so far. I think we've got no bumps, no bruises, no nothings, no scrapes. All right, here's my Bet365 plays of the day. You ready? You don't remember how I did? I don't remember my last pick.
It's actually written on the paper at the studio, and I forgot it.
All right, well, here's mine tonight, for the weekend, I should say.
It was actually a three-leg parlay you had on Monday.
Well, I got a 3-leg parlay for you tonight, plus 431 odds.
Okay.
Over in the Phillies-Yankees game tonight, Walker versus Warren. I got over 10.5. I like the Orioles tonight on the win line against the Rockies. And to finish that baby off, I'm going with the Royals over the Guardians. Put those three together, plus 431. $10 pays you $53.15. And that is my Bet365 play of the day. And by the way, that was well done, whoever just did that at the station. Music
Alex,
bang
apparently.
right at the right time as the other music came in. That's a skill right there. Coming up next, down there in Wildwood, Billy Schweim and the crew will have the Dutch Hoffmans for the next 2 hours for you right here on 97.3 ESPN as the lifeguard season continues with some of the biggest races in South Jersey. You can hear the call coming up at 6 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll turn it over to Billy Schweim and the lifeguard races coming up at the top of the hour. Josh Hennings, my on-site producer. Pete G back in the studio. And there's intern Sean and intern Alex. Both did a great job today. See you, everybody.